folks and gentlemen, we're your hosts, Roy Gravis, Bucky Pender.
Hey, buddy.
Bucky's down there at the end. I'm on this end. We're live from JT Meleck. I have waited a year to get inside this building. Yes, a year. Mike looked at me kind of funny. Mike does not know the backstory, but we will fill him in shortly. So we have next to me is Mr. Mike Fruge, and on the other side of him is Mia, and I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because I'll butcher it.
Meleck? No.
Mike,
Is that your last name?
My first name was supposed to be Meleck.
Mia Meleck. I like it.
We're
I
with
said,
TJ Meleck.
yeah, like I said,
Yeah,
we are live
yeah.
from JT Meleck, which is awesome. I love the facility. I love the drive-in, by the way. It's very peaceful and serene on the drive-in, especially the way I came in.
I had them avoid Highway 35. That's how they got peace and serenity.
Yes. Of course, I got stuck behind a school bus on a Saturday, which was bizarre to me.
Weird.
It's all them detentions.
Hey, no, you laugh. Apparently, it was some kind of sports team because I thought it was karma because I pulled up behind it and it said, "Go Gents." So I thought they were like welcoming us into town. But apparently it wasn't.
Oh,
So,
you gents, you
Yeah.
gentlemen,
I see what you
welcome
did
to the
there.
South.
yes. But anyway, like I said, we're live at JT Meleck. Fantastic. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank y'all so
Absolutely.
Very much.
I'll be honest before we get going. I have no idea where to put my head. I just
Just wherever.
look at the camera.
Look at your camera.
Most people have a problem with where to put their hands. You're the first
Oh, this
person
is the same
ever
thing. It just
in
kinda-
3 years
Yeah.
that says, I don't know where to put my head.
Like, do I lean back? Da-da-da. Oh, continue.
God, yes. Anyway,
Too funny.
so I guess let's start with your origin. How did JT Meleck come to be?
Well, the origin, you know, it took place over maybe a 10 or 15 year period.
Oh, wow.
We are in the crawfish and seafood business and rice farming and working real hard and doing all those things. And somewhere along the way, I kept trying to add value to our rice crop. That's kind of where the genesis of all this happened. And I made several stabs at different things. And one year, the price of rice had collapsed, and I brought my brother into the room. If y'all know anything about farmers, farmers have to plant. They will plant no matter what. It's like telling a beaver not to make a dam. Okay, and I'll tell him we can't plant the crop this year. It's impossible to be profitable. He storms out the room, go and plant. I look at him, I look at the accountant in the room, and like, what am I supposed to do with this guy? You know, and he says, I wonder if you can make vodka out of it.
Oh,
or maybe I said it. I don't know who said it. But and I was pretty frustrated that day. And I got him.
I'm pretty sure the exact quote was, "Can you make vodka so you can relax?"
Something like that.
I need vodka.
Yeah, something like
Chill the F out, pretty much.
Oh, I was pretty, anyway. So there happened to be a craft distillers conference in like 6 weeks, and the timing was perfect. Jumped on an airplane, took off. And, there's more of the story that took place there. I started asking people. I kept asking rice, and people said, rice? Never heard of it. Don't know a thing about it. I'm like, and I went to a marketing conference while I was there as well, and they said, you need to be different. I said, there's no rice. I need to be different. Pretty much, that was how it started. And, within, when I get something locked in, that's all I see, and started heading down a path, and we found I guess you call them a contract distiller, and within 6 weeks I was in their building and we were making stuff.
Nice.
Experimenting. And
Very nice.
going on from there. And I can keep talking if y'all want.
Oh, you
So what about, obviously the rice and the vodka thing kind of came up, about 6 years ago now?
It's 7 years ago, and let me preface all this. So I was a vodka drinker.
Right.
I love martinis. I used to buy vodka from all over the world, and so I was inclined to want to find out about this. And we have an amazing vodka. It has a nice nose on it. It has, which normal vodka doesn't.
Right.
We do that on purpose. It has a sweetness to the palate that you're not going to expect. It's amazing. But then, everybody asks about whiskey, of course, and I started asking about that. Well, there's really no real American-style whiskey on the planet that was done for that purpose. There's a lot of offshoots of that, a lot of experimentals, but name a brand doesn't exist until this. And I was like, I just had to find out. It was like, I'm like that once, with all of our other businesses, like farming, we've been doing that for over 100 years. We make a living doing that. This was more like a quest, like I don't know.
Prove them wrong.
Yeah, just had to go for it. And
It's the Fruge stubbornness.
Yeah,
right.
stubbornness. And with whiskey, I didn't know all this day one. This is slowly happens to you. And then you realize you have to keep going. And, whiskey is a 20-year commitment from day one. But you don't know that on day one. You're making decisions 6 years out. Every day you come to work, every day you make a plan, it's 6 years from now that you might see the results. So it's a different deal. But so the point is, we had to kind of go all in on day one.
Yeah.
And I have no idea. There's no recipe for this. There's no plan for this. There's no people you can call. You can call people in Kentucky, and I met not a lot of people that helped me a lot. But you're relating corn back to this grain,
Yeah.
and what barrel to put it in, how long to age it. Nobody knew, So
Did y'all have to try a bunch of different?
we probably had 6 or 7 different mash bills and 5 or 6 different versions of those mash bills coming off the still
right.
with different proofs and things, and we were. But the thing about the whiskey coming off the still, see, I'd traveled all over and gone to a bunch of small craft places, bigger places, and I tasted a lot of bourbon coming off the still. I don't know how to explain it. It depends on whose bourbon it is, but some of it's not so good coming off the still, but yet it makes good whiskey in the barrel. But it didn't necessarily go. I never got, wow, I love that. There's a lot of great bourbon out there. Don't get me wrong with what I'm trying to say, but rice whiskey off the still, totally different, amazing first sip.
Really?
Instant. Like I'm talking about I remember it like it was yesterday. I was standing there, and its first drops start coming off, and we, glad we've been clearing and got some of it, and I took a sip of it, and the guy who was helping me, he had the same reaction. He's like, and we're like, it's totally different. Never had this before, and so. Here we go.
I like
Yeah.
it.
Rock
I
and
like
roll.
it. That's very good
And
stuff.
you're somewhat of a serial entrepreneur, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
You've got your
Cereal
fingers
is
up-
right.
You've got your
When
fingers
he's
in a
too
bunch of
quiet,
different
I get
things.
real nervous. I'm like, we are not starting something else.
Here it goes again.
I do not have time.
So for
My
those,
wife has put a limit.
Look.
There's no more.
so other
Kick him
than-
out of the house.
Obviously, everybody knows about the vodka and the whiskey at this point. But other than that, what else do you have your hands in? What are you a part of? And a little bit more about Mike, the person, versus the vodka and the whiskey.
There's a family here behind me. It's not just me, and there's a lot of people here behind me. My brother and I started in college. I mean, we were born and raised right here on this farm. We both farmed, but he's the man with the tractor in the dirt, and he's always been that way. Like he loved to mow the grass when we were kids. He's always, and he's still that way. And I'm more of the promoter, salesman, dreamer. I'm the kid that's daydreaming in class all day, just dreaming up something new. And he's like, get out the way, I'll make it work, And so we made good partners. We have another guy, his name is Ed. He's the backbone, he's the thing that makes everything move. Without us three, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. We started off in college. Crawfish farming was just it's a little bit more than a hobby, but people weren't taking it seriously. And we started making a few dollars more than we could make minimum wage doing that. My brother was working at a store in Lafayette, and I was working at some other store. And, you go across the street and buy a sandwich, you just spent your whole day's wages, So we started a little crawfish farm in college and made a few dollars more than we had ever seen. And, honestly, I thought I was leaving the farm. I'd gone to school, I'm a professional. I moved away for a couple of years, got a real job, and he stayed here. gonna see it through, and to his credit. And my wife and I started doing crawfish boils for people in Miami. That's where we were. That's where she's from.
Mini lobsters.
Yeah. And
what's wrong with you? Mini lobsters?
That's what they think.
We started doing these things, and I did the first one as a favor. Then somebody else called, and the next thing you know, we're booked up. And I don't want to crawl. like we couldn't go anywhere else. We're nothing but boiling crawfish every weekend. And I said, there's something to this. I need to go home. And plus, I wanted to come home. I was a duck and goose hunter, and they didn't have any of that over there. And I moved her from Miami. If people are local, they'll understand this. She moved from Miami, Florida, to Lake Arthur, Louisiana. I was in heaven, and I don't know why she stayed.
I don't know how she stayed.
That has to be the biggest culture shock I've ever heard of in my life, going from Miami to Lake Arthur.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, you have to know where that is to understand what I just said.
Oh, yeah.
But,
She'll tell people, I'm from Miami. We lived in Lake Arthur for 7 years, and they're like, thank God you left. Where'd you go? Branch, Louisiana.
From Lake Arthur to Branch.
And now we're in Crowley, big old Crowley.
Nice. That's awesome.
I don't know how she's.
That was all part of the plan. So you go from Lake Arthur to Crowley. It's like you move.
Right. That's big city living.
Yeah, 2 grocery stores and a movie theater. We were set. So anyway, I lost track of my story. But, I realized that there was something to this crawfish farming, something to crawfish, and came back to the farm, took off in my pickup truck to Dallas, Texas, because my wife's best friend was there, and she helped me get my first 5 sales calls. Believe it or not, I don't talk much now, but back then I couldn't talk. And so we got a few customers up there. Started hauling crawfish up to Dallas, and over a 15-year period, built that up to, I don't know what it was at the time, maybe 100 customers. And then in 2000 or so, we opened a small facility up there and started offering fresh seafood to those same stores. I thought we were I didn't know a thing about seafood like anything else I do, and that's a whole nother story, but it's about the hardest thing you could possibly try to do, because you're literally, somebody hands you a stick of dynamite and says, go sell it before it blows up. That's the fish business. And, so it took probably 10 or 15 years just to figure out how to make it work, but I was stubborn enough to do that. And
I keep hearing that word.
Yeah.
It runs in the family.
I'm not good at things. I'm just persistent. I just keep going, and so.
Pretty much the same story about moving this table in the light. We're not going to. We're going to keep it in the dark.
I don't know what you're talking
I'm going to stare at it.
Yeah. So.
Nobody even mentioned that.
Yeah, and that company, it's still in operation. It's the backbone of all this now. Without that, we wouldn't be sitting here either, because it sort of became the stability. Rice Foreman's up and down and that sort of thing. But we serve about 500 customers in Texas and Oklahoma, and some back in Louisiana. And when we decided to do the vodka, all that was in mind to go, and the industry is much more complicated than I originally figured out.
Yeah, I'm sure it can get real complicated real fast.
Yeah, but we were timing was perfect. We were at a great place with the business financially to be able to take on this endeavor, and that was in 2017. COVID changed the world. Yeah. If COVID had been 3 years earlier, JT Meleck wouldn't exist.
Really?
Oh, I mean. Yeah, it's been that big a deal. Our customers are still recovering. The world's changed. People's patterns have changed. It's just we're still sorting all that out as we speak. But it's kind of the short version of how we got here. My brother's still here. He still farms. He's part of the deal. Ed's still here. A lot of other key people behind the scenes that make all this work.
It's good when people stick around. And it's good when you have family around.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a big part of it.
Yep.
All right, so I know it's killing you not to be saying anything.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good.
She's just happy I'm talking and smiling.
I'm so, literally, I have to talk to him all the time. Remember, we smile and we talk.
So
no resting bee face. I'm ready. I was ready to just like slap him like.
What about your origin story? Because you had nothing to do with whiskey or the rice farming. You were a coach, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I had my own career.
So how do you go from what you were? I guess tell everybody what you were before all this, and then what made you make the decision to get here? What's your origin?
I was a good salesman.
I don't know how the hell I got here.
I was a good persistent salesman.
I don't know how the hell sometimes I look and I'm just like, how did I get back to Branch? So I had always wanted to be, so I was a big softball player when I was younger. And honestly, looking back and knowing what I know now in coaching, I should have played softball. I never knew. I found out about a year ago that I'm a switch hitter. And I'm still a good switch hitter, too. I'm like, shit, totally missed an opportunity. And he told me that growing up. All my coaches were like trying to bring me back, but I found volleyball. And I just fell in love with the sport. Like, absolutely fell in love with it. And yes, I know, I'm tiny. I shouldn't have played, but stubbornness in the dark. In my head, I was 6'4", you know? Like, I could do it. And so my whole goal was to be a college coach. And so my entire career, I've actually worked in some capacity for this farm and the company since I was 8. We actually had a veteran employee that's been here for about 18 years. She had her last day on Friday, and we were talking about looking at old pictures, how I used to make seafood calls. I used to call like the Twin Peaks and be like, hello, this is me. I'm calling to get your salmon order. And they would be like, you want it to go order? No. Click. Oh, God. Help me. And I would sweep and I would call. And like my first couple of jobs, I lived in San Antonio for a few years. And I had like a computer and a phone that would hook back to here. And I would work on weekends and things. So I've always been in some capacity here. And when we started doing this kind of like on a low key in marketing, my in terms of college, my specialty was recruiting and program development. So in terms of getting the right people, basically what the head coach needed, they brought me in. What they needed, I got it done, and I got those people. And so I was at Ohio at the time, and so working there again. Two front. If COVID had happened earlier, JT Meleck wouldn't have happened, and if COVID didn't happen when it happened, I wouldn't be here. I was on a track for on my plan of where I was going, and COVID changed everything. The entire sports world, within a blink of an eye, everything changed. It got to a point, my daughter, she'll be 3 next month, so I was in the middle of COVID, pregnant with my daughter. Everything was crazy, and it was just wild, and it was great timing on the salesman thing. Sometimes I'll look, because I had just gotten a call from an individual, I'm not gonna say, an individual in the department telling me that only a certain amount of people can travel for the season, and my daughter was the added, so my daughter cannot come. So that was just basically telling me that I know you're about to have a baby and we're 3 weeks from season, but sucks. Like, you can't be, which we had just had a big NCAA women and I can't remember the coach, was it the Arizona women's basketball coach, that during the Final Four, she would go out into the locker room to feed her child. Like, it was a big thing of women being able to coach and do it. Yeah, it was huge. Not months later, I'm being told that I can't bring my daughter. And I'm just like, oh, great. And then this sneaky little, you know what, comes in and is just he's holding her. He goes, look at her. Wouldn't it be great? Like, we have Nene, that's my mom. Nene will be able to help you take care of her, surrounded by family. Who do we know in Ohio? Oh, man. I'm like, oh, God, look at her. You're right. And she's like 3 weeks old, and we traveled 27 hours in a U-Haul and hauled it all back here. So I was a college coach for about 12 years. Hey,
and I saved her life.
That's the way to look at it. You did save her life.
Yeah. And basically, but that's what happened. But the true story was, he's looking around going, what the is happening? I need somebody to come in and make this thing, make JT Meleck, because I can't do it without her. So I'm going to go, and without saying it, I need you, Mia. I need you. That's what he was saying to me. And look, you're welcome.
I can hear it in his voice.
So in some capacity, part-time, I've been with it since the beginning. He actually, when he made, after 6 or 7 recipes, when he made the best martini of his life, we still have a screenshot of a group chat. And he's like, it's a selfie, and he's drinking the best martini of his life. And I'm pretty sure my mom's words were, another company. What the? We all thought it was just going to be, we're just going to moonshine that thing in the back, just like trade it with family. It wasn't a thing. And all of a sudden, sometimes we look around and I'm like, what did we do? Look at this, and it's the journey. Yes. And, to answer the question in terms of, we released our vodka in July of 2018. But constantly, having the reminder that the conversation started in the early 2000s. So it's quite wild to see where we are to getting here. And, trying that distillate for the first time, but then realizing that you got to wait 4 or 5 years. Man, there were times where we were like, we had to stop ourselves from not just pre-releasing it way too early. Like the patience aspect is probably one of the hardest things. And kind of mentally preparing yourself for it to not to be good. Like, what do you do?
You asked the question, she's going now.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yo, you talk longer than me.
I don't know when to.
Beep.
Yeah.
You just tell me. Shut it, Mia.
No.
Shut it.
You're good. So were you a vodka or a whiskey drinker?
I was actually a Scotch drinker. I haven't had Scotch in a long time. Yeah.
Thank you.
I really like single malt Scotches. Nope. I was pretty into that. I lived in Scotland for a couple months. And I would whatever. And so I haven't had it in a very long time, and it's really ironic that a big particular vodka person, very particular about his martinis, vodka is very specific, and a single malt Scotch person come and make rice whiskey, which is the opposite of both of them.
This is the complete reverse of us, because when we started this project, Bucky only drank vodka. That's it. Vodka.
Oh, really?
Nothing else.
We were kind of talking a little bit before the show, or texting each other before we even made it out here, and she was like, look, he's a big vodka drinker. And I was like, oh my gosh, I loved vodka. That's all I drank before we started this show. So I was like, this is perfect.
There you go.
Yeah. I like to say I'm not a vodka person, but I'm a JT Meleck vodka person. I was the OG of me saying no. Like anytime I hear somebody say I'm not a vodka person, I'm like, I hear it, neither am I, but this is not your typical vodka. I'm telling you.
Well, it's just so surprising and I relate it to the center part of the orange creamsicle popsicles. You know what I'm talking about? The ice cream part of it. That's what I get on it, and I'm like, this is so good. It shouldn't be this good.
Yeah, I don't know where the orange thing comes from, but I get it too, but I get it in a different capacity. I get it. I compare it to when you take Blue Moon and dress it with an orange, that's the orange that I get off of y'all's vodka, which is surprisingly good. Yeah. And I'm not a vodka guy. Period.
I don't know the chemistry of it, but, it loves anything citrus, anything acidic.
It definitely takes on a life of its own, too.
Is that your favorite drink to make with it, a martini, or?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Our martini, the perfect one is great and so simple, and the same way can be the worst one you ever had. So it has to be done right. But if you're just in a hurry and you want to move along, then probably vodka cranberry. Just ice, vodka, cranberry juice in a big.
Let me tell you,
he's in a glass.
It's quite funny to look to kind of look at us
with lime. You got to have some citrus.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we were to look back on our former selves,
Words are hard.
Words are real hard. I just insert word here. Yes, I have an itch on my foot. I'm putting my shoe on.
Can they see your foot?
Nobody's ever taken their shoes off.
They can now. Just show my foot to the screen. But to look back, the way he drank his martini prior to this is not how he drinks it now. You really didn't find him with any whiskeys. It was just, he was particular with vodka. I had my single malt scotches. You wouldn't see a vodka anywhere near. And now he has his old fashions, he has the martini a different way. And it's funny if we look back at how we used to drink our stuff, we are JT Meleck has really just developed. And I think you can see that on a lot of our fans. It just creates this new experience that you can't get with anything else, that people find themselves enjoying it in a way that they never thought they could enjoy anything else. And I think that's a really cool factor. It affects us directly as JT Meleck. And so it's something, we always say it's our family to your family, and it truly is. It's changed our own family and what it is.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Thank you.
Very heartfelt answer.
It was because I had an itch on my foot, and it felt so great that I took it from the heart. Had a great response.
I don't know about that, but you could have stopped with that. You could have just said thank you.
Foot in mouth, literally.
Right, literally.
Yeah.
a lot of whenever I guess other distilleries that get their crops from other farmers and stuff, those farms have to have a cover crop. Is your cover crop crawfish for rice, or do y'all have a cover crop? Or
so a cover crop is kind of a. It's not used really down here. That's more of a. Can't say where, but if you've got a really sandy soil, you're going to always have something out there just to secure the land. Otherwise, it's going to blow away.
Yeah.
So we're growing rice and crawfish. I guess you could say crawfish is a cover crop.
In a sense.
In a sense, but we don't have the, we have a sort of heavier soil here. So people rotate with different other things like rice and soybeans has been another rotation, but there's not just a crop that's planted just to hold the land in place, if you will, waiting for next year. So, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Roy, you seem kind of quiet down there.
No, I'm quiet because we've got glasses and nothing in them. That's why I'm quiet.
Oh.
Should we try the vodka? Can we try the vodka?
It's time to drink something.
No, you can't come here. You just can't drink our spirits.
We went through the origin stories. It's time to drink, damn it. That's where we're at with this.
Good.
So I've heard you say on previous interviews that this comes off the still at 191 proof. Mm-hmm. How? That's really,
well,
really,
legally
really
speaking, they all should be doing that.
Well,
but you can quickly smell when they don't.
Yeah, because I've heard anywhere from 160 to 190, but...
Well, for a neutral grain, technical, legally, cheers.
Cheers, sir. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
I wasn't going to use a glass.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Bottle chugs are welcome.
So you sip that, not to get off track, but it's instantly sweet. And absolutely no kind of ethanol burn to it.
It's got good drapes to it,
palate, That's what I tasted the first time. Just imagine you're trying this for the first time in a martini. Unbelievable.
I had a bad experience with a martini one time on a cruise ship, but that's another story for another day.
Well, I mean,
very much so.
You would think, depending on how you prefer yours, which I'm a not dirty person, by the way, absolutely no dirt.
That's weird for a farmer.
Yeah. It used to be slightly dirty, and now
it used to be just a touch, but I've experimented, and I just prefer it just like that, with dry, of course, 2 olives. That's it. But if you don't get it just right, and you don't have the exact right ice, and you don't shake it the right way, you can ruin it. So anyway, but I digress. Well,
I do have something on that. It's so, this is how I'll drink it. When I just want to change the pace from whiskeys or whatnot, this is how I drink it. But the only downfall, we call it the rice and gravy theory, whether it's with our whiskey or with this. Rice, anytime it's a here in Cajun country, and it doesn't taste like rice. It tastes like your food. So if you got a bad gumbo, your rice is going to taste like a bad gumbo. It's not going to put some cherry on top and make it better, And so with ours, I tell everybody, anytime we have events, fresh raspberries, fresh ingredients, fresh this, you can immediately tell if you, he can definitely tell when he orders a martini and they have old vermouth. Vermouth doesn't last very long, and if they have old vermouth, it just enhances bad vermouth. It'll enhance old olives. It'll enhance bad lemon juice. And sometimes, that's the only downfalls. We'll get people, and they're like, ooh. And I'm like, that would be the juice. That's not,
that's not us.
You can't hide bad ingredients in this thing. So it'll enhance it.
That's back to the 190. So technically, if you're going to produce a neutral, which is what this is, an NGS, neutral grain spirit, that's what a vodka is, and it's a legal term, according to TTB. You have to get it to 190 for it to be a neutral.
Right.
Once it's produced, then depending on what your process is, you go through that process, and then you proof it back down, adding water to it to 80. So I guess technically speaking, if you never got to 190, who can prove that? So that's what she's talking about.
And on the other side of that, I guess, because y'all have.
You have to have the right equipment to get to that
number. Y'all do it on
number.
one run though.
We do
there's
it on
a lot
one,
of people that will do it. They'll do
Yeah.
So multiple runs to strip it, to get it all the way up to 190.
It depends on your equipment. So we're running a sort of a hybrid column still, and it allows us to hit that number. It's very difficult, by the way. It's way easier to make whiskey from a mechanical
Vodka's
standpoint.
very difficult to make. We fail more than we succeed.
Well, from a small craft, the equipment is available to us that we can afford. Let me just say that. Otherwise, if you're using a pot, you're constantly re-adding this stuff, and that equipment is also the reason we can produce this. Because I know from experience, if I redistill it for some reason, I'm not getting the same juice. It sort of goes mechanical on you, if that makes sense. It gets kind of bitter. When we have to, when we were first getting started, learning to use our equipment, we had to run it again and again and again, trying to get to the number or whatever we were trying to do. And the stuff that runs through there multiple times, that's what we used to make hand sanitizer with.
So what?
That was another project.
Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah. So I'm assuming y'all did that during COVID, like everybody else did, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me tell you, that's a story all by itself. So we're in the seafood business, and we serve restaurants. On March the 17th, 500 restaurants are open. March the 20th, 500 restaurants are closed.
Golly.
We got I don't know how many millions of dollars of fresh fish sitting in our cooler, We think that, I was like, we were in Dallas and there's nobody moving. There's no airplanes moving. It's just like, like, if you go to Dallas and I've had that happen 2 times to me, by the way. I was there when the space shuttle crashed in the Toledo Bend. If you remember that.
We're not too far from
I was in Dallas when that happened. So they shut down, it's actually 3 times this has happened. 9/11, the space shuttle, and COVID. The airport shut down. And without that constant traffic and everybody stops moving, you just don't realize how much noise there is in it. It's all of a sudden you walk outside of my facility over there, and it's like dead quiet.
So all 3 times you were in Dallas.
I just happened to be
I'm going to need your schedule to when you're in Dallas next, so where I'll kind of be prepared.
Yeah, know where to be.
Just, anyway, one of the guys that worked here saw somebody on social media. They had made a little bit of hand sanitizer and put in these little bitty bottles. And he's very creative. He comes in, he says, we need to do that. We'll put our label on there. It's going to be a way we're going to promote the brand. So I said, sure. They were publishing this little simple recipe, and we literally went to the drugstore and we bought some of the materials and little bitty bottles and we mixed up this stuff, and we had a little batch, like that much, and we filled those little bottles everybody in the office had nothing to do, so we fill in those little bottles, and we came up with a couple of cases of this, and we bring it to Lafayette to one of our customers, to a grocery store. And literally a fight breaks out over those bottles.
Really?
And they are calling us, and it's like, we need more. We know you holding back, And
did it have a JT Meleck?
Yeah, it had JT Meleck on it.
People still say that they have our hand sanitizer.
It's allocated.
I mean,
you can go to the I think it's Albertsons in Alexandria. I think he still has 15 tubs the because he'll get to it, but one minute it's the hottest commodity out there, and the next minute nobody ever wants it again.
Yes.
We don't even talk about hand sanitizer anymore.
Well, we went from, we used all our back stuff like that, and then, we had to, we were running wide open trying to get this thing done. We got trailer truckloads of ethanol moving through this place. We went from that little bitty bottle to gallons, and it started, went full capacity, and ended in 6 weeks.
Wow.
Really?
Yes, that's how long it lasted. I knew it wasn't going to last.
Yeah.
But everybody wanted it. It was going to last forever. I was like, no, it's not going to last forever. So I'm like, and it's one of the few home runs I've hit in my life. We crushed it. I completely timed it perfectly. We filled everybody's order. Everybody was happy, and I had no backstop. And we were watching it closely. Like as soon as the first person quit buying, it's like that was a trigger. Like, oh, they got enough. Oh, they got enough. And you just the only reason we knew to do that is because we sell fish. If that makes sense. Because that's how you sell fish.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
You have to be able to time your fish. Think about it. This fish, remember the stick of dynamite. Yeah. It's on its way to you. It's in a truck somewhere. It finally gets to your door. You have no time. You're like 4 days at the most, maybe less. It needs to move, and so we're always monitoring that inventory every day, and we treated this the same way, and it worked perfect. So.
I feel like I could bring you a bag of ice and you'd have it sold before it melted.
Pretty much. That's pretty much what you got to do. Yeah, exactly.
Selling corn to a corn farmer.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do I need this for?
The only home run. You heard that?
I didn't say it's the.
I started to say something. I
told y'all. The only home run.
That you're putting in a bottle of brown that says otherwise.
Yeah,
but
I'm like, man, I'll hit a home run. I'll come in to tell him. I'm like, and I'm gonna go do it again. He'll just be like, pah. No, you won't.
No, watch.
We don't get home runs around here. Not around these parks.
Let me qualify that. We have a lot of success here, but it takes time. It's always a grind. This was one that's like it could have blew up on you. We could have had truckloads of ethanol sitting over here. And what are we going to do with all this stuff? You can't. It's not vodka anymore. You've already added all the hydrogen peroxide and all the stuff to it. And the product we produced was great, and it worked. It did serve its purpose. I just didn't want to end up with truckloads of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
the timing was really perfect because we were got to the allocation of the amount of rice that we wanted to use. And we had to put disclaimers, do not drink, because it smelled just like our vodka. It was sweet.
Really?
Oh, wow.
It made your house smell so good. And we got to a point where we switched to corn because for the last haul, he knew it was ending. We switched to corn and let me tell you,
like
we had people calling this is the worst smell I've ever smelled. And I'm like, we're going to stop doing this. But it works.
It does the job. That's all that matters.
Oh my gosh.
So what's your favorite part about the vodka?
Oh, my favorite part.
From start to finish. It could be anything, whether it's the flavor, the finishing a bottle and opening a new one.
It sounds, it's in all the videos, but, I made this out of my rice, or our rice. I remember, my brother and I keep talking about him. We're completely opposites. You got to prove it to him. He's a farmer. Don't believe anything new to prove it, And I remember going over there, and I had all these little bottles, and all these things. And, I'm all excited, and he goes, you got to prove it, And that's the next step. But when we brought this to market pre-COVID, it was I'm talking about home runs, but it took off immediately.
Yeah.
It worked, right out of the gate. And ironically, because of COVID, we had to restart, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Good thing we got Mia.
Good thing.
She's not going to fit out the door by the end of this.
Oh my gosh.
Have you seen that door?
He won't fit out the door. What you talking about?
God.
This is our new batch.
What's my favorite thing about the vodka? I love it. The flavor. The easy drinking.
And you can do it one run, bottle it. It's not like whiskey where you have to batch it or anything like that.
Yeah, it takes about 30 days from grain to bottle. We talk a little bit about the process. Comes off the still, 190. We let it rest for about 2 weeks minimum. When the distillate comes off the still, I'm not a chemist, but there's a lot of stuff happening. It's kind of hot. It's kind of moving around. And you let it sit, and it sort of mellows out. And then we proof it down to 100. We run it through some charcoal. What do you call it?
Charcoal filter?
No, I have these brain cramps, but activated carbon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, I mean, that's what all filters are made out of. Water filters, everything's made out of activated carbon. That just kind of cleans it up a little bit, takes any impurities out. Our vodka has no additives. There's, some vodkas do. They add things to it for mouthfeel and that sort of thing, clean them up and whatever. That's just pure rice. And let me just say for people out there that don't know about it, has nothing to do with sake or anything. No offense to the Asian products, but this is...
He's in my head right now because I'm literally thinking that's the next thing I'm fixing to ask is the fact that you get that comparison where everybody's like...
that's what they think.
Is it like sake? And I'm like...
No.
First of all, no. Sake's clear.
I like internally cringe every time I get that. I'm like, ooh. And some people...
It's not even a distilled spirit.
No, and some people just don't really know. Some people know, and that's the only thing we can compare it to. And I'm just like, can we not? Because
it's inevitably going to happen. But like our whiskey, I'm from Louisiana, in America. We make an American spirit in the American style, and that was from day one. I wasn't. People ask, when are you going to make some sake? That's not my heritage. No, and there's, sake, soju, and all those. That's the most produced product on the planet, by the way. It's not popular here, but in China, Asia, Japan, all those, they make more of that than you can imagine. But that's a different culture and a different product. I think, by the way, we didn't get into this, but people say, well, why didn't anybody else do the rice? And I think it solely has to do with the timing of commercial rice farming and prohibition. Because, like, our family moved to this farm in the late 1800s. John Meleck, J.T. Meleck, by the way, that's my great-great-uncle John. They came over from Germany. They settled in the Midwest. And sometime along 1870s, 80s or so, there was a lot of people promoting cheap land down here, and a lot of people came down. Even there's another local group of Germans that came over directly from Germany, settled in a local place called Roberts Cove. And anyway, they came here, and excuse me. What am I telling you? I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Why other people aren't doing rice?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So land's flat. They were highland farmers, like corn and all these other things that they grew up in the Midwest, and nothing worked. Cotton, all these things. You'd get one crop, lose three. We got a lot of humidity. Things would rot in the field. All this sort of stuff. Rice was the only thing that really was ever, rice and sugarcane are the only two crops that you can say have been stable over that whole period. And they became rice farmers. And as in the late 1800s, and Prohibition, 1920s or whatever year it was, right as it was becoming popular, they shut everything down. So pre-Prohibition, there were 10,000 distilleries in America. Post-Prohibition, 4. All controlled by a different group, if that makes sense. So distillation is and was originally a way, it's the last step of saving your crop. So all farmers grew grain, they fed their animals, they ate some, they made beer, especially Germans, they all made beer. They would have done this. Somebody would have done it. It was just a matter of time, but it just didn't happen because it kind of got shut down. It took 100 years for the craft, whatever, the laws to get to where it was feasible for craft to exist.
Right.
If it hadn't been for the craft beer guys, the craft distillers probably wouldn't exist. That all started probably 30, 40 years ago, I guess.
Oh, so romantic.
Yeah. Well, it's when you talk about farming, it always sounds romantic, but when you get out there,
yeah, right. Not so much.
I was fixing. I don't know about you, but I baled hay many a summers as a kid, and I can tell you right now, there's nothing romantic about that at all.
Luckily for us, when I was a kid, and my grandfather's day and my dad's day, farmers fixed their own equipment all the time. This is pre-cabs on tractors and no air conditioning, all this kind of stuff, you know, and I mean, it was brutal, you know, especially for me. I'm allergic to everything and did not know it as a child. So I'm out there, my brother's just having the time of his life, and I'm like, how's he doing this, you know?
I want to go home.
I want to go home, you know, and, you know, today we have modern equipment, and there's a process to it, and we don't really work on anything. I mean, we have to fix things. Things break. If it wouldn't be for Ed, we couldn't run this place. But,
shout out, Ed.
Yeah, shout out to Ed Guidry. Yep. By the way, Ed Guidry was the, I wish he was here. Y'all need to see him. Ed Guidry, we talked about this yesterday. He was the #1 power lifter in America for 3 years in a row when he was in high school. Think about that. Not one of the best, the #1.
A quarter can slide through his ring finger. Like he takes his ring off, and a quarter can fit through it with room.
If it hadn't been for
That's how big his hand is.
I got damn sausage fingers. Jesus.
He's
a giant of a man. But if it had not been for a foolish, high school, teenage car accident, he probably would have won a gold medal at the Olympics.
That's crazy.
Like for real. Like this is the real deal. Anyway, that's a sidebar. But anyway, farming today is, I don't want to say it's easier, but there's a method to it, and you can't not go. You have to go. Your equipment always has to work. Otherwise, you lose time. You don't hit the window. It's very mechanized and, has to happen. Anyway, I'm getting all over the place. But if it hadn't been for Prohibition, somebody else would probably be making rice whiskey a long time ago.
I know people have tried it in the past. Like Jim Beam tried it, and they failed pretty miserably. The Basil Hayden toast had brown rice in it, and it wasn't very good. I mean, people have tried in the past, and I know there's been a couple other brands that have popped up since y'all, and I haven't had a chance to try any of them. There's one in the state that y'all distribute in, and I think there's one in California that are doing it as well.
Isn't there one in like Arkansas too?
That's what that's what
Oh, okay.
Because y'all distribute in Arkansas, don't you?
We do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried either one of them, so I can't speak to them.
I can't
I just know
speak
what you're
to
doing.
it. When we started 7 years ago, Jim Beam had already done their thing. There was a couple other places, but like I said, there was no successful brand out there, and to some degree there still isn't. I mean, we're just getting started,
right?
So a lot of people can make it, but can you sell it? That's the and me.
Y'all have gotten a ton of national recognition here lately. I mean, between
it's a great product.
Yeah.
You can't look. People will try this because it's cool and unique. They'll buy one,
right?
But when you start getting consumption, it's you got to appeal to a broad market. We love the podcast, we love the bourbon groups and all that, but I always said from day one, I got to figure out how to get that bottle to the camp. If we can get people to take it to the deer camp or the duck camp or whatever, then you got something. Because those are the guys that are going to talk about it, and they're committed to it. I got several friends who are Miller Lite drinkers and not trying anything else.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's a big lift, to get them to swap something else in their hands. So you can, that's the hard part. That's what we're in the middle of doing right now. But luckily, we got a good product.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I only have like 6 bottles. It's no big deal. So are you doing the blending for the small batch that we're actually trying?
Yes.
This is batch 224. You said it was the newest one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hasn't been
are
released
you doing
yet.
all of the blend?
Yeah, so.
My bad. I didn't mean to say that then.
No, I'm giving it to you because it hasn't been released yet.
So how does that process work? Do y'all just randomly pick barrels? Do you know which ones you're going for? And then are you just like...
I like, you asked what's my favorite thing? That's it. That's my thing. So I didn't know how to do this, obviously. I went to a bunch of seminars, talked to people, tried to hire people to help me. And along the way, I figured out, this is kind of like cooking. That's what it is. It's like, I'm not a baker, but I cook in the stove, and, all people from Louisiana cook. And it's trial and error. And sometimes you pull 4 barrels, and you blend them together, and you got a batch. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. It just depends. But over time of trying our barrels, between myself, Mia, a couple of other people that work here, we're kind of starting to figure out a path. And, that's the fun part, creating those batches. Each one's unique. You're not trying to hit a dot, you're trying to hit a box, and stay inside that box. Different barrels do different things. And we just went through a period. Mia's always pushing. Like, I think I work for her. I'm pretty sure. Though.
You do work for me. I am the boss.
That's the hierarchy.
I get the text that says, "Where are we at on the whatchamacallit?" I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah. It's like, when are we going to get there? Like, she just asked yesterday.
He has to remember. I have to remind him of this all the time. That yes, I am his boss. I have ownership. Stakeholder that requires certain things per year, and it's my job I run this company, Fruge Spirits, and I have a blender. I hired a blender,
right?
And I have a date and a time and a thing. And when he don't get his shit together, he is in trouble from the boss because I got a boss.
Right, like the saying goes, shit rolls downhill.
Exactly. I tell him all the time. It's funny, sometimes we'll be in meetings and people are only looking at him. He goes, I don't know why you're looking at me. She's the boss. We're just going to leave and she's going to say what she wants to do. So you're not wrong.
The working with the barrels, it takes, 7 years of this, by the way. On year 2 of the first barrels, we had nothing else to compare it to. It's like, please exit the building and jump off the nearest cliff.
That's it. It's over. I'm done.
It's over for real.
It's like it started off. It's in 6 months. It starts off. It's pretty good. Like, oh, I like the way this is going. And year 2 is like, this stuff is terrible.
No.
And all the tannins from the barrel are just in there. It's just heavy, heavy, heavy. And if I hadn't gotten a good friend, shout out to Dave Shurick, who was previous with. I can't believe
Woodford Reserve.
Thank you. So, and he does some other things now. Great friend and great. He's the one who always I call him when I got a problem. Like he's talking me off a cliff, and he did that multiple times. But as we approached year 3, that's when it really started to turn. And I'd say in year 3 it was good enough to release in some cases, not all the barrels, but I just like, we're going to hold it another year, and that was a really good decision. And year 5, it gets better, and year 6, it's better. Don't know where that's going to stop because we don't have anything older than that.
There's just nothing to compare it to.
There's nothing to compare it to. I think we'll run out of yield before we run out of time. Does that make sense? Because we have fairly hot summers, and our yield is a little bit less than Kentucky, but not as bad as you would think.
We get more angels. Sure.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Again, we're still brand new in this. We don't know. Some of it, I think, has to do with just the physical cooperage, like barrels that leak. And some do more than others. It's really, that's a learning process. But my favorite time of year for the barrels is like right now. Yeah. Like back in January, Mia was like pushing me. I said, it's not time yet. Next day, pushing me again. Next day. She's relentless. She's very organized, by the way. She's got her checklist.
Yeah.
Like, he's on my list. Move.
Apparently in the office, I have a certain walk, and people could tell, like, she coming for me? Where's she going?
But from now until the summer heat hits, all the barrels are really doing their thing, and everything's really popping. We get all our barrel picks right now. Like, it's really odd. It's like in January, I'm tasting these barrels, and they're all indifferent.
Yeah.
Like I'm not liking anything. I'm not getting excited. And 6 weeks later, I got 20 the first 20 you count barrel pick.
This eventually is going to be probably a very difficult thing that we're going to have to deal with because he's not wrong, because I definitely said, like, we can't just stop for these months because our summers and our winters are so intense that our barrels have to go. We talk about harvest seasons, has to go through the 4 summers and winters in order to be ready. They may not be ready, But I said that to him. Like, I challenged. I was like, let's just pull samples and see, because we can't just not have single barrels on the market. Like, because to the consumer, it just looks like, it just doesn't bode well when we're gaining all this momentum, and then they can't find us anywhere. So I was like, let's just pull and see. Man, I was like, in my head, I'm like, he's right. Like, they were good, but they weren't like, and I had to like look at them. I go, okay, you're right, they're not ready. Like, I had to walk out, and I'm like, they're not, and it is not. And then 4 weeks later, I'm like, that's the same barrel. Like, and it's just wild how much, like, how dramatic that will be. Yeah, and so whenever you see it, I try really hard not to slam them all at one time, because we have, technically speaking, if you really look at it, we have 6.5 months where we actually have whiskey, because the other months are intense summers and winters that you cannot pull it prematurely. So it's a balancing game. And so the bigger we get and the more we have, there's definitely going to be, it's going to become something that we'll have to adapt to and figure out what's the best solution, because that can't be maintained, you know?
I think that, I mean, I don't know how people do it, but I suspect that there are, you know, people that really are focused on a certain footprint or a certain taste profile they're trying to hit. They probably bottle everything before the middle of the summer, and that's they're done, you know, and then they just age. I could be wrong, but
we've debated that.
That's kind of how it's looking, like, especially for our small batch. I don't know how you bottle a bunch of barrel picks and just put them off this. I don't know. I guess you could, but
sounds like a good problem to have.
Yeah. He's not, when he said like the, you know, off the cliff or whatever, but it's, I don't think people understand like how emotional all of this is. And sometimes when you look at all these, you know, outsourcing, sourcing, MGP, all these different things, and it's like a person but not a person, or these big things, and you're not seeing like an actual person. You're just seeing like somebody that's pouring at events, you know, and everything. He's not, I mean, they're probably once a month we have conversations about it's the end of the world. Like, we're shutting down. It's over. JT Meleck is ending. We tried our best, but there's nothing we can do, you know? And it's like,
if it ever happens, I'll take a little bit of this.
If we had known the things that we know today, we probably wouldn't be here. It's the same concept of all the other stuff. But
just to give her credit, okay, she never does that. I do that.
So you're the one.
I was really trying to help the weed, but yeah, if we're gonna go there, I gotta talk him off the cliff every time, and that's why, like, when people, like, some of the things I try to be, you know, really positive out there, excited, but I'll tell you, sometimes I just don't really agree with, it's a very subjective industry. It's all subjective. It's based on what you ate that morning. Like, how you're feeling will determine how you experience. So you got to try things multiple times. And so when we've gotten in this like crazy thing where we've got all these influencers coming out here and just like, I had the worst thing in the world. And I'm like, and now all these people are like, yeah, he said it was the worst thing in the world, and now it's in their head, and they can't get it out of their head.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm talking about people. We've gotten in a world where it's like, we want to, like, people want to not like the rice. Yeah, I mean, when people review, and a lot of people think that I pay all these people to review. I don't pay. I share the spirit. If you'd like to share it with our family, well, you paying people, right? And I'm like, no, they're enjoying it. And sometimes they'll start, and they're like, they don't want to like it. You know, like the rice is there, and they want to prove that this is not good. And it's just got something there that it's hard for them to be like, holy crap, like, call it the Meleck lean. They lean back, and they're like, this is rice?
Smile on your face.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is really good.
I think one of the biggest things for us is like, it still haunts him, still haunts me, because I have to pick up all the pieces. One of our first launches, and I have to, you know, most of the time, I'll tell you, I launched without telling him. Like, he was like, no, maybe we're not. There have been multiple times where I'm like, hey, can you go over there? Click, pick it up, take it. Oh, they already picked it up. I don't know, I couldn't stop them. And we're just going, you know, might as well fail forward. I fail fast, we can figure it out, rather than just like soaking it in. That's my motto. Like, we just got to go, and we'll figure it out and adapt. That's the only way to success. But we'll have people, one of our first launches, and I understand, I mean, 25 years of this is finally happening. And so many positive reviews, but we had this one guy that posted on this local group, it's just a half-assed Japanese whiskey, it's not that good, it probably won't last that long. He screenshots, he sends to me, we have a meeting, we're never gonna succeed. And I'm like, I text the guy, I'm like, I want his name, address, phone number, I'm coming to his house, and I'm gonna tell us so straight his face, because now I have to literally tell him, it's good. Trust me, it's good. It's all gonna be okay.
She
it's
literally
good.
just went full Meleck Mafia mode right there.
Absolutely.
Like,
What's your social, credit card number, everything?
Hold on a second.
And I was like,
she's sitting here today after, all these reviews and all this stuff, but you got to imagine, okay, and she wasn't here on year 2 when I'm tasting that stuff. When you had to walk uphill in the snow both ways, you got a lot of scars, so you carry all that baggage with you. I don't want her to know about all that. I need her to be the way she is, full speed, positive.
It's always been great.
Yeah. No, my point of this was that being a true grain to bottle is rare. Like it's easy to like cut yourself and think that it's just a machine or they bought it somewhere or it's not an actual person. And I think that's something that there are some like us, but it's whenever, those experiences are coming back, it's truly us sitting in our living room feeling like we're failing 1 minute and then it's like the high on life the next minute. And it's very emotional. Like it's
very emotional business.
Front and back. Like sometimes I tell people if like, I try to really bring our like social accounts up, but if you don't see me at all, it's a really low day. I can't fake it. Like I am who I am. I cannot fake it. So whenever JT Meleck is not active, we pretty much show you we had a tough day, and I cannot get online or talk to anybody right now. Like it is a tough one, and that's just something like the beautiful and the ugly and all these things, and it's truly like it's us. Like
so when you are a farm, you make decisions on a year, so you're kind of used to that. But people from the real world, if we'll call it that, they don't make decisions like they don't have to. The hardest thing, like the fish, farming prepared me to be in the fish, and farming prepared us to do this. But this is even more because we own all these barrels. Yeah. I don't call a guy and say, send me 5 more. You have to make them. You have to decide how many, like we're deciding right now, how many am I going to put down for 5 or 6 years from now? Because you're not just putting down the 4-year stuff, you're potentially putting down 6-year stuff. So all that has to be calculated, and we have no idea. You know what I mean? So I used to have this little story I'd tell anybody that come to work here. I used to interview every single person, and they'd sit in my office, and I said, what's outside that window? And they looked at me like I was crazy. I said, Mother Nature's out there, and she doesn't care. That's what it is. If you
2 things you never piss off in this world: Mother Nature and mother-in-laws. Piss off either one of them.
Yesterday I looked at my phone.
That's a good point.
Yesterday I looked at my phone. It's going to rain. Big, massive thing coming through.
We're in planting season.
Yeah, we're in planting.
So we can't plant when it's wet.
And I was like, it's going to rain this weekend.
I know.
We had some things we needed to get done on one of the farms, and it wasn't done. I went do it. Personally, because last night it got flooded. And,
and I bet the farmer in you, when you see rain, you're like, oh yes, it's great.
Well, sometimes you need it.
Sometimes not right now.
Exactly.
Not right now.
So
also, side note, I definitely was here for year 2 because you almost shut down this whole damn thing when Dan told you that it wasn't good.
But
I remember that day like it was yesterday.
You said something.
We forget about how long I've been here.
Made me think. You said the whole grain to glass thing. Mm-hmm. To me, y'all as a company take it a step further because you're literally going from ground to glass, and not. There might be maybe a handful of people on the planet that can actually make that claim. I mean, anybody can say, oh, we get our grain, like we'll use Texas as an example. There's a bunch of companies in Texas, they get their grain from Texas, but they're not actually growing their grain like what you guys are doing. Y'all are literally ground to glass. And that, to me, that's the intriguing aspect of all this from my side, is the fact that, and I've said this before about your whiskey, to me it's the best of both worlds because you get that traditional bourbon, but you also get that rye spice on the back end. Right. Which, how you do it with a rice whiskey that blows my mind.
Well,
ridiculously.
You give a lot of credit to the coopers, to the barrels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every whiskey, probably 60% of the flavor comes from that barrel. So that's a whole nother topic. But back to your original thing, from the ground to the bottle. We plan that every year. We just got finished planting. We planted our grain this year to be harvest next year. It'll be distilled the year after that. So it's 8 years from the dirt to the bottle.
Nice.
You know, so you know, if I didn't have a next generation, I probably wouldn't be making whiskey. That would be no point.
I think it goes beyond. It's beyond even the ground to the glass. It's and what I mean by that is, whenever people ask us, like the entrepreneur in him and all these different pieces, a lot of people will say like, how did you get from that to that? But if you actually understand how it connects, basically, you better eat your whole plate. That's the concept of our farm. You never waste anything. If you're going to put something on your plate, you're going to eat it. What you looking for?
I'm looking for the small batch.
Okay. Right here. You're going to eat it. And so nothing gets wasted here. So every company that comes from a solution for a different problem that then adds to the value of what it is. And so it's not just ground to glass. It's everything. Mother Nature probably sums it up. And what I mean by that is, y'all probably heard that it's a tough crawfish season. Yeah, this is one of the worst we've never seen.
We haven't even had it this year. It's been so bad. I mean,
it directly affects everything we do. You know, in this industry, it's definitely an understanding. I don't know where it came from, but somehow throughout it, this industry thinks that suppliers are just rolling. Yeah. At every level, I'm supposed to incentivize this, pay for this, grab the bites, grab this, have a party, pay people to do this. And I have to like back it up sometimes, and I get uncomfortable because I have to explain to people, we do not have investors. We're not taking loans out. We did not add value to our rice just to go into debt by doing something else. Like, so everything by crawfish having a bad season, that will, and I'm not saying anything's negative happening, but those are things that directly affect our crop, that directly affect our farm, that then circle back around and will at one point directly affect this.
It's all tied together.
Yeah, so it's all tied. So sometimes people are like, you know, you'll see me on the phone talking about crawfish, and then I'm talking about some salmon, and then we're talking about this, and I'm like, because it all connects back to what it is, which is the ground, which then leads to which is whiskey and vodka, which is a byproduct of that. And so it's pretty, I think that would make us one of a kind. I don't want to say we're the only one, but I know there are other grain to bottles, but I don't think there are other grain to bottles that are relying heavily on everything else that isn't operational around them. Yeah. This is a byproduct of keeping our family going for another generation, not necessarily to be distillation. Now we are. Now we've committed to it full time because it turned out really freaking good.
Yeah, it turned out pretty good.
Like hell, we sat dead silence probably when we realized, because I was there when he tried that for the first time. Yeah. He sent it off to big things like Pat and Dan and all those people, and how do I tell them that it's not good? I mean, we almost shut down that day. He pulls me into the office and blah, 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 you know. And we agree that we give it some more time, and that's how we tested with the Founders Edition. So we were testing the market, seeing how it was. That's not our 53 gallon. It was something different. But I forgot the point I was going somewhere. See, we both do the same thing. Our brains go too fast.
Yeah.
But I was saying something funny, and then nope.
You were going to tell everybody how you're smarter than me.
Right.
You know
obviously. So, just to kind of, since you said it right there, and you mentioned early on, year 2, you know, you were kind of right there on the cliff, and then it kind of moved forward from there. What was the difference between going from that accidental 30-gallon barrel to, oh, these aren't the big ones, now we're doing 53-gallon? Was there a change in the flavor profile? Was there a change in thought process, small batch, all of it?
Remember, we know nothing about doing this at the time.
So. We still don't. Yeah. I Google every day.
Yeah, exactly. Is there a YouTube video on this?
People will come up to my table and use like slang words, and I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Proceeds to Google slang word. Oh shit, that's not right. No, it's not that. No. It's not that. I don't know what that is.
So, you know, I go from, and we're moving pretty fast, you know, so I go from just a rice farmer who doesn't know anything. In 6 weeks, I've got some liquid in a tank, and what do you do with it for now? You know, well, you need to put it in some barrels. And I read a bunch of articles, had been to, you know, whatever. If you put it in small barrels, this is somebody else's opinion, it's going to age faster. So I bought 6 little 5-gallon barrels. Yeah, and they're sitting right there. And when we do tours, I talk about them. But and then, you know, and I started doing the math. I was like, how long do I have to wait to see if this is any good? You know,
I'm tired of waiting.
Yeah, you know, it's like tomorrow. You know, they're still not good. Yeah. You know, so then I talked to a few people, and there are some craft distillers that focus on smaller barrels, and that's their profile. It produces a heartier, woodier, real meaty whiskey. And I don't know. I bought some 30-gallon barrels just because I needed some barrels to fill, and I called the guy to make my next order, and he's really just a rough-cut hillbilly making barrels in Missouri. And he starts talking to me like I was his son. As he said, "Son, what are you doing with these 30-gallon barrels? Why aren't you using real whiskey barrels?"
We're like, these aren't real.
Like, these aren't real? Like, oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
what I meant. Yeah. I meant that.
Proceeds to Google, where do we buy
Exactly.
53-gallon barrels?
What's a real
What's a
whiskey
cooperage?
Yeah, so I said, I was like,
Oh, yeah, the stories. The stories.
I'm embellishing the story, but I asked him, I said, should I go with the 30s or should I go with the 53s? He just kind of pauses, it's like, are you stupid? And, son, if you're going to make real whiskey, you need real whiskey barrels. So we filled those first 15 barrels and we immediately went to the 53s, and we added a second cooper. And, those two coopers were our primary cooper until 2022, post-COVID. This is all kind of COVID effects, but post-COVID, all these people, the real big guys, realized we're out of whiskey. They drank all the whiskey, so they bought up all the cooperages. I mean, they didn't buy them out; they bought their inventory, and so you couldn't get barrels. Even the people who had been supplying us, all of a sudden, phone's not ringing, they're not answering. They're sold out. They don't want to talk to you, and we had to scratch and scrape and somehow patch together that season and get through that year. And so we got some interesting whiskey coming. I don't know what it's going to be because all of a sudden, boom, you got these 5 different coopers in that one year. And
Just get them where you can.
After that, I've been able to sort of pattern it after what we originally started with. But this whole story is about barrels, right? So is the reason I started off on this path. But
Squirrel.
Squirrel. I do this squirrel.
They make fun of me all the time because I do it.
Squirrel.
Literally, our family dinners are like, a story never actually gets finished.
No,
It just gets redirected.
Where was I going?
What was I talking about? I don't know.
But, so the barrels, when we started, I knew that I wanted a bold American whiskey.
Yeah.
I knew that I needed to get to the deer camp. That was fundamental from day one. If I don't get to the deer camp,
Right.
like the proverbial deer camp or duck camp, if people don't take us along on their trips and their family gatherings,
Y'all want to know?
oh, Lord.
Y'all want to know
But
who we were
hold on,
trying to
before
be?
you-
Wait, this goes to the our goal. We wanted to be crowned.
Yeah. That's not a bad goal.
Hey.
It's really not. I mean,
Like
when
it's
you-
funny, but
if
it's
you
not
know-
a bad goal.
Hey.
But if you take like what you know, and like what that is,
Right.
and what we are, and know that our goal was to be that with those. I think it's the funniest. We
Well, I'll
had no
tell you
idea
this,
what we were
I
doing.
can't drink Crown straight. I can drink this neat.
Well, if
Crown apple.
you have to understand,
Meleck apple.
There's 500,000 or 1 million Crown drinkers in
Right.
Louisiana alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's big in
look,
Texas as well.
And don't try to pull that bottle out of their hands. They take it. Yeah. So that's your competition. Whether at that time, hey, we go to the camp every weekend, Crown and 7. That's it.
Exactly.
That's what everybody's drinking. So you had to.
You're not wrong.
Have
Yeah, that was
in
our lake
mind,
drink.
Neat. What? Neat.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, back to the barrels. That was my focus, was to end up with this, a bold American whiskey, great color. The nose is 100% the rice. That's how you get the nose. That's not, and of course, it's like walking along and found a bird nest on the ground. Just boom, there it came. That's all because we did rice. I obviously didn't know I was going to get that. It was all just a all-in experience. So
We don't manipulate, and we don't add vanilla to our vodka. That comes out from the rice as well. Yeah, people ask me that.
So I'm curious because you mentioned a guy by the name of Dan who used to work for Woodford, I think, a little bit ago. Dave. Sorry, Dave.
Oh, no, I said Dan. That was my
Somebody said Dan. I knew I wasn't imagining this.
So, sorry, my story was about Dan from Bardstown.
Gotcha. Okay. So that kind of sparked something in my mind. Is there any thought process, like Woodford's big thing is like their double oak? Is there any thought process from JT Meleck maybe doing that type of thing, maybe different? Because, you know, right now, kind of one of the big crazes that we talk about in the industry is like finish stuff, whether it's Ambarana finish, port finish wines.
This is how I'll start this answer, and then I'll let him finish it. It's really interesting to look back, like it's a two-parter of him starting this conversation in the early 2000s, us just launching it and looking at all these, what everybody else is doing. But we are still in the time zone when everybody said we couldn't do it. So We're still in the barrels that we put down when everybody said a rice whiskey wouldn't be good. So it's not until next year, or about 6 months, where we see some growth from him tasting it. And then we see more growth after that third year. And then we see some. And then we, as y'all see the still on the ground, working on putting that's our focus there until we can get to a point where we feel, I guess, comfortable, confident that this will be consistent. We shut down all the time from that's a problem child over there. In terms of like the still never working, it haunts his dreams. He's come out with a hammer and just like wanted to just tear the whole damn thing down. So I'll let him finish. But I like to put that into perspective because sometimes it looks like it's just like right there that we can easily do all these things when we're trying to get to a point where it's consistent enough barrels. Like this is what we're doing every day, and we're growing. We're still trying to get to where we're comfortable with being. Hopefully that makes sense.
So the short answer is yes, we think about it. Practically speaking, to be able to get it on the shelf and have enough of it, that's what she's referring to. That just takes time. Yeah. It takes time, and it takes laying the groundwork, getting a good distribution, building a consumer base. Because remember, if they're not taking that home and take it to the camp, and that takes a long time. You know, you're one person at a time. And look at her lips. I mean, there's just there's no shortcut. You know, people have to try it. They have to tell their friends about it, and it just takes time. So if you can imagine, you need to get a certain number of bottles on the shelf. You got to have a certain number. That's the mechanical side of actually selling whiskey. That's the hard part. You know, this is fun. You know, we're telling people our story.
And I think something people need to realize whenever you're saying y'all need to buy it, like you have to buy this one and that one.
Yeah.
Before you can get the double oak.
Yeah, the others,
the single barrel.
I mean, we got to have a tribe. Buy these. We got to have a tribe consuming those.
Yep.
Before we can make the next one. No, I can make some. I can make one barrel of it, but what does that do?
How good does that do?
It could be a distillery-only release, and, a lot of excitement behind that. But we do have, some new products coming. I don't know what Mia wants to talk about today, but, going back to Dave Shirk, I remember it like it was yesterday because I was full-blown panic as she describes, and he says, look, you need to calm down. You got a good, clean distillate. That's the first time I heard the word distillate. I had to go look that up too.
Wait, what do we have?
Wait, what?
Where is it?
How do I get rid of it? Antibiotics, I don't understand.
So he says, you need to put it in a good barrel and be patient. And, that's what we did. And, out of that one barrel, you get multiple products. You get a small batch. You get a barrel pick. We have a high proof about to be released.
Yes.
And later this year, we'll have a 6-year. So,
hopefully.
Very small amount of 6-year available. But, and we'll keep.
You'll probably have to come to Louisiana first year for that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's a little bit. I know.
Oh, no.
Gotta come back to
I gotta come back?
Gotta come back.
No. So talk a little bit about the high proof. Because obviously you've got to use more barrels because you're not proofing it down as much. Mm-hmm. So what's the thought process behind that? Because you've also got to take into account your single barrel program, which takes barrels away. A higher proof takes barrels away.
Yep.
So how do you prepare for something like that?
On the barrel count, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more each batch doesn't have has to be 10 barrels.
Right.
Has to be 8. All of our batches have been a different amount. It's until we all agree that it's ready.
Yeah.
So he'll play around with it. We'll all tweak it. We'll play, and then when he likes it, he brings it to me, and I say no.
Try again.
I say, ooh, yeah, I like this. Let me see what it's missing. Like, it's like and then
you bring it to her that day. Oh no, your baby's ugly.
Nope, this one looks like a potato.
Yep. Take it away. Go with that. I'm like, what?
It's all scrunchy. At me.
It's got a weird nose. Try again.
Like, go home.
The short answer, we always do that because we don't answer anything
Right.
short.
Short
It's really just a joke to make you feel more comfortable. The short answer is...
good. We'll get through this one and we can move on to the next one. No.
I am
Kick back, relax.
very organized. I have spreadsheets and things that tracks every single barrel, where it's going, how it's doing. That gives me my kind of the goal sheet, where we are, when we need, how our batch is going, when I need him to dump another one, when we're launching, when I can dump a single barrel, how many I can go to each state. And so I have basically a big thing, and it activates color coordinated based on where we are. So it goes like right now, our high proof, where it's in the orange red because we're technically behind. He's gonna be like, and so,
No idea.
You can't rush the process. I mean,
listen
He's
here,
an artist.
listen. You can't rush the process when the process is happening, but you can rush the process to start the process. we ain't even playing with them yet. I'm like, Brett, get the samples and put it in his hand right today. I pull the sample. He says he does. I don't care what he said.
Share what he said.
Put the samples in his hand today.
His palate's not right. He ate spicy food this morning.
That's the thing.
It's a thing. It's
It
still
really
a thing. He
is.
can't eat or drink anything. He can't have his coffee.
You have to plan when you're going to do that, and you got to be very, very specific. For my personally, first thing in the morning is the best time for me. Like after 10 o'clock, you shut it down because it's just not. You come back to it tomorrow. You try it in the afternoon. It's just not the same.
I can't tell you how many times I don't eat breakfast. Because purposely, if I need to come in and taste some stuff or get opinions or whatever, and I swear, sometimes I'll wait, and it's 11:30. I'm like, really? I'm like, I don't think we're doing anything today. Proceeds to take one bite of Buddha. Mia! I'm like, and I have to go in and be like, I can't taste that today.
You got a handful
you
of
ate
chicken
something?
cracklings.
I'm like, it's 11, honey. Mid-bite, it's all over. What was your question?
I don't know. What did y'all do to me?
So basically, it's we couldn't have done a new SKU last year. We didn't have enough barrels.
And because you're also taking on a massive market like Texas. So you have to take into account being able to allocate a certain number of small batches to there, in addition to the single barrel picks that you're adding with all of your new stores. Plus you're releasing a high proof version of your small batch. So you could really go through some barrels pretty quickly.
Yeah. It's
if it does well.
I mean,
hopefully.
Again, this is not the romantic side, but you're in a battle for shelf space. So if you got 3 bottles, or if you have 2, or if you have 1, your name shrinks. So a lot of these distilleries that have the inventory, they got 5 bottles, but the purpose is to get the billboard.
Right.
If people are walking, oh, what's that? It must be good. They got 10 of them. But
I think the hardest for us is, unfortunately, our cream and our white do blend in. They stand out, but they blend into a shelf. And we have the hardest part. I get a lot of people daily saying, I can't find it. It's nowhere. Can't find it. Went to all these places. And sometimes you have to look 3 or 4 times. And then we're new to Texas. So you show a manager and they're like, never seen that before. We don't have that. And I'm like, I literally called a consumer the other day outside of a Total Wine in Dallas Parkway. I was there 24 hours prior. I'm like, go back to the thing, 3rd level, 2nd column, 3rd down. It's right there. And he's like, walking, he's like, oh shit, look, there it is. And I'm like, it's there. It's there, please, for the love of God. Wow. And it's not their fault. It's just it's shelf space. Yeah. Getting behind a corner, in the wrong spot, not where they think it's going to be. Looking over at once. It's just at every level, it's so that it's not always like flip of the switch. Single barrels are definitely easier because I control more. And what I mean by that is specifically picking where I want and when I want them to go. And when they go down, I can follow delivery. And it's one physical thing. And it comes with a barrel, and it's usually in the middle of the store. You know, it's very easy. They walk in, and there it is.
Yeah, and you seem like you know about the single barrels, because I texted you the other day. I was like, hey, between the state line and Lafayette, where do I stop because I need a single barrel? And you're like, there aren't any.
Yeah, there aren't any.
Like you knew off the top of your head, you're like, there's not.
Yeah.
So
Mia's been really good about strategically releasing them. You know, we don't want to just flood the market with, you know, we want it to be special. It is special, and you want it to remain that way. The small batch high proof is a takeoff on the single barrel, because it'll allow stores that can't afford to buy a barrel to have something similar. Yeah. You know, and it gives us a two-facing at least.
We're filling the gap of our, I have a lot of consumers, and we knew that was coming, but basically, okay, what's another high-proof option? You know, like when single barrels just fly off the shelves, they fly fast. So when they do, the people that are more inclined to hire, even though our small batch is high considering for it's 96, it's not low. But in terms of ones that are wanting 3 digits, this is going to fill the gap to where they're not always having to run around trying to find the dark blue.
Was there a thought process between 118 with the 118 number?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that's where it lived beautifully. I originally said 117, and then he played around and decided on 118. But I thought anything from 116 to 118. We didn't want to go higher than that because we don't want to devalue our single barrels. Most of them are 120 and higher. We've had some that are 119, 118, but we didn't want to mix and kind of like they're competing against each other, because that can happen.
The single barrels are slightly higher than that, but that's what they're putting the barrel at, and 118 is about the highest number we can hit consistently with all the barrels. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because I don't want to have to leave out some barrels to be able to hit the number, and we think we grew the first rice here in 1896, so it kind of goes with that. So I never told her that, but it's kind of my thing. Back of my head.
He wanted to do 103, and I said 117, and I came to his house every night for the past month, and I go 117. And then he said 118. I was like, well, look at that.
You released a video before the JT Meleck single barrel branch water was released on Bourbon Outfitter, and you said, hey, the proof is kind of a hint at something, and it came out at 107.
So
how did that all tie in together?
The whispering. So originally so when I first brought this, gave him all the data, my proposal to do this and fill the gap, my proposal was 116 to 118. He said it'd be better to have something, allow the single barrels to have that really high, and he wanted to live in the 103 to 107. That barrel was a test barrel that came out, entry proof 110, exit proof was 107, and I was like, oh, this is a perfect time to give a little sneak peek. Just for 24 hours later, he said, I'm going to change my mind. We're going to go to 118. So people are like, I don't understand what the special guest is. I'm like, it all makes sense now.
Oh, I was all over the place because we've got a good friend that watches the show. He's great, Jake. We were going back and forth. Well, what if it's like a rice and wheat mix? Because Weller Antique 107.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know.
What if it's coincidence? I didn't even think about that.
We were going back and forth and trying to figure out what the 107 meant. And I was like,
that's funny.
I don't
did
know.
Not think about that. Even though a lot of people say that they'll blind our small batch and Weller 107 to people, and sometimes they can't figure out which one's which. And the first time I actually had it, somebody gave it to me, and I was like, I feel like it's not ours, but I feel like it's ours. What is this? And I was like, what? Like, it was wild. Like, I knew it wasn't ours, but it's really freaking close. Yeah. And I'm like, what the heck? And then they were like, this is Weller 107. And I'm like, what? I was like, the wheat and the rice, it's pretty wild.
So, and I don't know if I was told you had a hard 2 o'clock out. We're getting kind of close to that.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, a little while back, y'all were on another podcast together, and y'all were kind of talking about the high-proof small batch and the 6-year release, and you hinted at something she didn't even know about. Is that something that's still on the table?
I know about it. I asked him out. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he He can say what it's. We have some rice bourbon, and I was like, "Oh, you made it seem like something like."
That was something else I was going to ask you about because you, like 2 years ago, you did a podcast, and you had mentioned a bourbon.
Yeah. We have some rice bourbon, about 8 barrels.
We have rice bourbon. We have like 2 years. 2 years in a row when we first started, we did a very, very small run of that, and the intention was to continue that, and. I mean, the honest answer is we had a lot of difficulty running that mash bill through our equipment.
Really?
And I just sort of abandoned it, intending to come back to it. And 3 years later, you're still not back to it. So if we ever get caught up, we'll address it. Again, we got you got to have consumption of those to be able to experiment with the new things. I think we'll eventually do that, but just
another bourbon.
This is a really.
I was going to say, does it really matter at this point?
Yeah,
with what you're making
I don't know that it does.
Now.
It's another cool thing to have.
Yeah, it's a cool concept.
Yeah, but I mean,
not really one of a kind like we're trying to do.
We're not one of a kind, so we would just be potentially just
anyone
be another
can make a rice bourbon, but only JT Meleck can make a rice whiskey.
Wow.
But so remember, we are a craft distillery, trying to build a brand. That's a pretty...
Well, you're doing a damn good job at it.
Well,
I'm telling you that. Because you
got to be really naive.
You're popping up on everybody's podcast.
You got to be naive to start that.
I've been trying to make major marketing push.
Yeah.
And I mean, content creators everywhere getting bottles of y'all stuff, and they're all loving it. So
everybody loves it. That's like I said from the beginning, if it weren't good, nobody would continue to consume it. You can get them to try it one time because it's cool. They'll bottle, give it to somebody for Christmas, but that's not going to create consumption. Back in the day when we first released the first, after the Founders Edition, we were first going out with the first small batch, and Mia sent that bottle to a show like this, and she didn't tell anybody. And she came in.
It just shows up.
There's a recurring theme with all this.
She came in one day.
I'm the boss. I do what I want to do.
Oh my God, we're on the such and such show. And I'm like, and I was honestly, it was very exciting, And
that was a really good impression.
That's what I was thinking. His impression was spot on.
And about
with the hands and everything.
And then about midway through, and I realized, what if he didn't like it?
I don't know.
She
this is what I say
never
all
told
the time.
me.
Yeah,
but
you
he
never
might have
seen
been
it.
on there doing a review.
A lot of people.
They really tried hard, but they didn't quite hit it.
A lot of people said that.
Eat for effort, guys. Eat for effort.
They said, you do know that he's known for just shitting on a brand if he doesn't like it. You could have been complete. He brings me to his office. We could have been ruined before we started. And I sat back and I go, I would have saved you a lot of money. You're welcome.
You can put the checkbook away. We're done.
You're welcome.
Just so you know,
you got to go for it.
I'm married to an angel. Her name is Courtney, and that's where Mia gets her eternal optimism from. So
okay.
We balance each other out. Everybody has a backbone, and Courtney, my wife, is that.
We have this epic story that we were going on family vacation. And I think I was like 11 or 12 or something. It was just me and one of my brothers. My other brother is a huge age gap, so he wasn't a thing back then. So we're going, and my mom, whatever, we're running late. There's a bad storm coming, and he's like, we're in the car, and she's like, oh look, the sun is coming. He goes, the clouds are coming in, Courtney. We're never gonna make it.
We gotta outrun the storm.
He's like, we're never gonna make it. And we're going to Houston. And she's like, look, we're made it, I think, or our flight is still on time. He goes, that's because they haven't looked at the radar yet. We can still get canceled. We get into the checkout. They pick him for the random search. He's like, see, we're never going to make our flight. They go back. He goes, I don't have my wallet, Courtney. I don't have my wallet. She goes on as a graphic artist and literally makes a fake driver's license. I'm not joking.
Oh
shows her computer, and he walks to get checked out. And by the time we come back, she had totally just sparked everybody's, and they're like, oh, sir, come on back. Your wife explained everything. He's like, we're never going to make it. We're like, wow. We get on the plane. He's like, we haven't made it yet, Courtney.
Yeah.
We haven't made it yet.
They love to embellish these stories.
I'm sure.
No, that's exactly what happened.
I'm not a pessimist.
You're a realist.
I would not have started this if I
that's true.
Just think about that. I'm the one who started all this, filling these barrels, but I am a realist. And I do know that if you didn't check the radar yesterday and go plow or go plant or whatever you need to do, you're not doing it today. And that's the side that I keep. And my brother's worse. So meaning it's very matter of fact, get it done. So it takes all that. It's a balance with all the family members.
Absolutely. Yeah. So something else I noticed, and this kind of goes back to taking on the Texas market and all that, the app, which I think is really cool because there's not a whole lot of distilleries out there that have apps, which I thought that was a really cool idea. You get these nice little pop-ups of new crap coming. You can find where the stores are. They've got some recipes on there. So if you don't have the app yet, download it on your phone. You can find out where JT Meleck is, whether you're in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, wherever. Squirrel. Yeah. So I was mapping out our trip. I was mapping out our trip on the app. And I pulled it up and I kind of zoomed out so that I could see the whole I-10 stretch. And I was like, oh my God, I'll never be able to go to any of these stores because there's too many. Y'all are literally, it's one, you might as well just be one big dot. Louisiana has like completely embraced y'all. Whether it's on premise with all these restaurants and bars and cool little places, which is kind of part of the reason I chose Don Seafood because y'all popped up. Yeah. And I was like, heck yeah. But the on-premise and the convenience stores and liquor stores and everybody, I mean, it seems like Louisiana's really embraced JT Meleck. And what's it been like? Is it really that good? I mean, has it been that good? Like, with all those dots?
There's a lot of hard work that went into that, but when we released the vodka, it was almost instantaneous. I remember walking through I never did anything so easy. Why did I have to say that? But because COVID was a year away at that point, and then we had to rebuild it. But I will tell you, especially locally in the Branch area, if you go on our Facebook, there are local people, I know them, I see their names, like they've embraced this, like they're pulling for us. Like they're behind it. Like #1 fans, they're all like that. Like they're proud of it. It's really something unexpected, humbling, whatever you want to say about that. And then it goes beyond that because it's got that, it's from Louisiana. We didn't talk about that, but all that label is all intentional. It all goes back to that crawfish boil that we were doing in Miami, and then other ones we would do in Texas, and then the way things were after Katrina. All that sort of built the Louisiana brand. We would go out there, and I'm just a crawfish farmer, one of thousands. Yeah. Locally, I'm just another guy. Over there, doing a crawfish boil, you're a celebrity. And people would come up to you, I'm from there, my mama's from here, my cousin's from over there. They want to share these stories with you, and they want that connection. And so all that is intentional, built into that bottle to, give those people that connection, if that makes sense, because it's a real thing. Louisiana is a brand, and now, we've built the whiskey to go with it. So we're getting out to Texas. Sharing it with everybody over there. That's the next part.
And, we drove in from Texas.
That's beyond that.
That's where we are from. That's where we started. That's where most of our followers are. What's that? You've been a busy little bee.
Ooh.
I was surprised you were even here for a weekend or
I know, right?
At all. Period. So you've pretty much been at every whiskey festival from here to there.
Let me just give credit
and
to
every store in between.
I've been on the road a long time. I drove trucks back and forth to Dallas delivering crawfish, and I know what it's like to be on the road. And we're coming up with a plan how we're going to launch the whiskey, and she's telling me her itinerary. And I'm like, oh, good luck.
Yeah.
But she did it. She Yep. I looked at her and said, "You must love sleeping in a hotel." You know? And she, well, not exactly, but it needs to get done, and she did it. You know, so a huge gargantuan effort. Yep. She's probably ready to go again.
Probably.
She's
you've got New Orleans Bourbon Fest next week.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'll leave on Wednesday or Thursday. One of the days. I think Thursday.
But I mean, I know it at least started in January because you were at Southeast Texas Whiskey Fest in Beaumont.
Damn, that feels like
forever ago,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it feels forever ago. I can't believe it's only March because for me, I feel like it's been a whole year.
It was like right after that, I started seeing all your videos. Hey, I'm in Dallas. Hey, I'm in here, Houston, here. And then you were at the Whiskey Riot in Dallas, and you'll be at Whiskey Riot next month.
I need one of those cars that drive me around,
so
I can like
first
nap
and
in the
foremost,
car.
I think the real hero here is Dusty. Can we just all?
Oh yeah, he said he wants a what was I can't remember, but basically he's like, can you never leave? Stop needing me. I could not do it without him. He is awesome, and he takes care of our daughter, and he is the greatest husband ever.
And he's a great model because I've seen a lot of his lower region.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so like low key, so many people have like crushes on him. Like every single time they're like, "Where's your husband? Where's Dustin?" And I'm like, "He's not coming this time." Oh, okay. Where's that sexy guy that was here last time?
Hey, the one that's holding the bottle like
Like,
this.
that's your husband? So I popped out. I made a new banner and I put it on our story. It was at the Dallas Whiskey Riot. That was the first time I popped this up. And it's we did pictures in the fields. So we're holding the bottle, and so Dustin's always my model. And so it's just waist down.
Right.
Okay. 3 ladies, not 1, not 2, 3. One lady walks up, she goes, "Oh, that's Dustin." I was like, "I'm sorry, who are you?" She's like, "That's Dustin." And I'm like, "Yeah, but how do you know that?" She was like, "Oh, I've seen pictures of Dustin. Dustin's famous." And I'm like,
"Oh."
He goes, "Do you know Dustin?" I'm like, "That's my husband." She's like, "Oh, girl, we talk about your husband all the time." I'm like, "I don't know if that's good or bad."
I feel at that point, Mia's like literally taking out earrings. Like, hang on a second. Taking out the earrings.
Oh, no, I love it. I'm like, yeah, he's mine. He's mine. That is him. That's why I put it back there. It's nice to watch. But yeah, I try to, any event that we can go to, I try to get there. And I think it makes a huge difference because a lot of people, and just in interacting with the brand, we've got to do the extra step in order to just compete. You know, we don't have the budget, we don't have the resources, we don't have the people to be like these big brands, but we want a small big brands. And so that's why I really try to attack social platforms to feel like get this national recognition. And so when people spend their time, spend their dollars to come to these events, I want them to feel like this is the actual brand talking back to them. I'm not just hiring another poor person that's just gonna stand there and be like, just like standing, it's actually us. And I think that's really helped us gain relationships with consumers because I'll get them and they'll like, at the end of the hallway, they're like pointing and walking to me. They're like, "I watch your videos." And I'm like, "I love that you watch my videos." And they're like, "Holy shit, it's actually you." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is us." And so it's like really brings like it all to light that this really is Grain to Bottle. This is our family. And I will absolutely get in the car to meet all of y'all because it's that's the fun part is just meeting the people along the way. And
all this, it seems like it's been going on forever, but it hasn't. This is all an evolution. Because if you go back and look at our videos from just a year ago, all you see is Mia's hands making a drink, And then, right before Christmas, the 12 days of Christmas, it's all like the phone's like, "Hey, what are y'all doing out there?" Like she comes out of nowhere, and she starts talking to the people directly. She starts talking to them. And, I'm talking about overnight.
Well, it worked because it grabbed, because I've followed y'all for a while now, but you'd pop up and I'd just keep, and then all of a sudden this whole 12 days of Christmas thing popped up and I was like, "Oh my gosh, she is nuts."
Oh yeah, she went from like 12 likes to thousands of likes, and 12. She says, "Well, I'm giving free stuff away, so we'll see if it keeps on going."
Yeah, see if it lasts.
People love free stuff.
Yeah.
So, I had so many people just like tell me that I should be like in front of the camera, not behind the camera. I'm like, oh, no. I do not get in front of camera. No. And I was like, it took
I told her she was a natural born salesperson. Oh, no, not me. No.
Not me. People would tell me, I'm like, I literally cringing in my gut. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
And finally, just like, I'm not joking. I would get
desperation.
Like there was a lull. I couldn't get it, like, you know, the word algorithm, I'm sure you understand it more. The average person probably doesn't, but I was just getting very frustrated. Being an alcohol account, we're already like locked, you know?
Exactly.
The video I did the other day, I had so many people that were like, that video is going viral. And I was like, if it was a personal account, probably. But because it's alcohol, it won't.
Right,
exactly. So it's like, it's so difficult. And with these things, it just kept getting lost. And like, we're going into the holidays and like, it's just lulling with these things. And I'm just like, I need to have something that just goes. And finally, I was like asking some other people in the industry some advice. And they were like, I mean, honestly, Mia, like, I've known you for a long time. You should probably try out getting in front. I'm like, no, that can't be the answer. And finally, I'm just like, Dustin was like, just do it. You'll probably like it. I'm like, I feel like, I'm like embarrassed already. Like, I'm embarrassed by myself. I'm like, oh my God.
Paper bag and stuff.
I'm like waiting for the first one to just have all these comments, like, and sometimes I do get them, but like, just like, holy crap, she's so annoying with her loud voice. Like, just like, calm down, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to be. So finally, we're going in, and it was the Family Reserve, the barrel pick that I chose in the boxes. And I was just like, this is the chance, because if it doesn't go well, I can just say I did it because it was my pick.
Right.
Like, I was just like, I'll just slowly exit stage left. And so we'll just try it out. And it worked like before it. I'm like, in the mirror, like the first time, I'm like, we can do this. And I would go to tomorrow. And I would like, we'll do that tomorrow. And so finally, there's this book. It's like 1, 2, 3, I think it's called. And I basically used it for my entire career. Like, it's also like failing forward. Like, the only way to path to success is by failing. Like, you have to be okay with failing, and you just do it. And I've lived my whole life. You count to 3, and on 3 you do it. You just like it's really helped me in athletics, and always knowing like there's always another game, there's always another point. You have to keep going. And so when I had a moment where I was filming, and I was like, it's the same concept. And so literally, that's what I do. I get one shot, and I say 1, 2, 3, and I go, and I just whatever. Like, I have a goal of what I want to talk about, but it's not orchestrate, as y'all know. But if I get tongue tied, I just keep rolling, done, and go. Like, it's just, I'm out. I'm not overthinking it. I'm not editing it. I don't have time to edit it, if I'm being honest. And so I think
that's what I love about it, is the fact that it's not edited. Because, I mean, we've been doing this for 3 years. We don't edit anything.
Yeah.
Literally.
I think people like that, because like people can smell BS from miles away, and I just want them to know that this is truly us, and it's authentic, and you know, and that's also why I don't fake videos. Like, when we're having a really low day, I can't post. I can't. I'm not going to go out there and.
Well, and people love, like we've talked about, transparency. People love that. That's why we call our show Uncut Unfiltered, because it is. It's just whatever we say, whatever our guest says. Guess what?
It's out there.
It's out there. This is it. If we're having a bad day, and we're angry about something, and we just sit on camera and bitch for 2 hours, well, guess what?
Shows.
That's what it is. If one of us cries on camera because something happened in our life, guess what? You saw it. You're a part of it. But all of this connects people.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about. Because sitting here with people like y'all, after watching all of your videos and then getting to actually meet you at Southeast Texas Whiskey Fest, and just everything that's been going on, like sitting here, enjoying it with y'all, makes it that much better. And I think more people, like you said, it's that deer camp or the duck camp feeling. Like, you sit and enjoy it with somebody, makes it just a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah.
I said this term 2 or 3 years ago. We were doing something, and I said obsessively authentic. And that kind of describes it. You know, obsessively certainly does. You know, persistence, determination, all those kind of things.
Stubbornly authentic.
Stubbornly authentic. Yeah.
I like it.
I like that.
You know,
You're welcome.
I mean,
that.
you can't go buy more of that. You had to make it, and you had to commit to it 4 years ago. And, you know, it's not the easiest path to the spirits world. It certainly isn't. But it was the only one that made sense to me. You know, so.
Stubbornness is no joke. It's for real. If we didn't have it, we couldn't do it, because we get more negative. It's quite interesting, because while we have, like, we're like trending and moving and more people are sharing it, we get just as many negative responses as we do positive.
You must delete all those. I never see them.
You never see them.
You're
You
blocked.
will never see them. I have so many people's social security numbers, credit card numbers. I got a whole list. And like just in terms of the rice.
I see a few of the negatives about her. You know, I do worry about that. I don't know if it matters, but I want to make sure we don't become like Mia's Dress or something. You know, it's still the brand. You know, yeah. But as long as it's building people and bringing people together, you know. We've had some other influences help us along the way, and they kind of, you know, you don't want to become the influencer.
Yeah.
If that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to balance that out, but it's been great, you know.
So what's it been like trying to conquer the Texas market?
Tough.
We're just getting started.
Yeah, right. Because Texas is all privately owned liquor stores. You can't go into a Walmart or the corner store, convenience store,
grocery stores and things like that.
Because and let's face it, if the owner says, yeah, we'll put it on the shelf and then doesn't do anything about it, well, then you could just sit there and rot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So is it a different dynamic? What's it been like trying to get into these places?
Oh, I mean the whole path to market took like 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean
we all dabbled
getting
in Texas a couple years
yeah,
ago.
we did like a direct because the law allows a craft to test your product. It actually didn't test well. We did it anyway. Stubbornness, like it actually failed. So we did it
didn't tell me
anyway.
that.
And
I had no idea.
Mike's like, what?
what? Yeah,
We didn't
I'm gonna
test
have
well?
to
Hey, I
take
need
a
to
quick
see-
break.
I need to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. I need to see the invoices for that. What happened?
yeah. What? It's like it's a 2 year, and then the tier system is pretty challenging. Like I'm still learning. I ask so many questions. I'm like, I'll go with did ride-alongs with some reps, and I'm like every rep had a different price point. And I'm like, what's happening? They're like, oh yeah, but if the retailer has this and they have this law and they buy this, but they could be a class B and they could be a wholesale, they could be this. Or if they have this and they know this person, they actually get this price. But that price doesn't affect on this one. And if they have multiple locations, then sometimes you can split it. And what? Like, I have no idea what just happened. So now they're like, so what's the price point? And I'm like, Maverick is our distributor. If you would like to ask them. Whereas in like Louisiana, I can spit out the numbers right here. It's pretty consistent. And so there's only one. You know, we have grocery stores and gas stations. You can go to the gas station, you can buy alcohol. You can
CVS.
We got daiquiris to go. It's a whole different world. And so it's like a neighbor, but it's a whole different world. And getting to the system, and then not only there, you know, you're working at every level. It's not just selling. Thinking about it, it should be, I make it, if the distributor wants it, they go out and it's gone, but that's not what it is. I have to then convince every level, and then there's pull through. The minute you sit, and so like we got into some great accounts right off the bat. Some accounts just from the stuff that we've done in Louisiana, from the people that I've met along the way, have brought us in so quickly that our distributor was shocked. We've never seen a craft brand that has gotten into these accounts right on the get-go without starting. That has really helped us, but like that's why all my videos are really directed at like pull through. Consumers going in and pulling it through, because if we're not pulled through, they're not going to reorder. And it's available to everybody, but we're seeing some comments out there, people can't find it, and some retailers don't want to bring it in because they don't know the brand, they don't want something, things are tight, and it's all these different pieces. And so to answer that, 2 years just getting to the state was a huge win. Like to have enough product, and it's a good and a bad thing. Texas is massive, as you know, absolutely massive. But I'm not trying to dominate the entire state. We don't have that much stuff, as y'all can see. So if I can just get quality accounts that are willing to work with us and have quality consumers that are having pull through, that's what I want. So I'm really focusing on like the handful of people that will bring back, that will then naturally grow. So I'm not trying to dominate the whole market. And so these little things, so getting into the accounts that we've gotten in has been a big win for us. It's just sleeping at night hoping that there's pull through, because the minute you're like deactivated from a chain account, you never go back in. So that's it's always pretty stressful.
That is the hard part.
Very stressful.
You can get in all day long.
Yeah.
It's staying in.
Staying in is very hard, and
very hard part.
Total Wine is one of them. We got in naturally, organically from relationships and from what we done in Louisiana. But the guy was very honest. He's like, "You got 90 days. If you don't pull through, we don't bring it in again." And I was no pressure whatsoever. And so,
I mean, probably one of the largest accounts in the state of Texas is the one that we so affectionately call the Rabbit Store. if you know what I'm talking about.
Yep, sorry.
What was it like?
Smile and nod.
Because, I mean, that's easily, what, 60 to 70 stores?
I can say that on these things. I can't make a video about one account. It's illegal for me to have a video. Like, I accidentally did it with one of them, and then it got pulled down. So that I forgot about that rule. I can talk about multiple.
Right.
So I can, unless you didn't want to say the name, but I'm just letting you know.
Well, we just do it because of our relationship with Longhorn Liquor. I mean, they've been great to us.
Okay, yes.
We love Longhorn Liquor. That's one of our favorite places. It's like going to
we got their pick right there.
Yeah, it's sitting right there. We keep staring at it. But it's one of those things, you know. Mm-hmm. We love going to Southeast Texas Whiskey Fest. I've gone to the Dallin location and just hung out, like, just to talk to people.
Yeah.
And so that's why we affectionately call it the Rabbit Store. It's not that we have anything against it or anything like that. It just, you know, it is what it is.
Gotcha. My videos are like the one with the S, and so I was just making sure you knew that.
No, you're good.
Okay.
But that's a massive account in the state of Texas. Uh-huh. So what was it like getting into something like that?
Man, it was really, really interesting. It's the stubbornness from the family that we get that probably drives us, because every time it's just like, who the hell are you and what are you doing here? And we walk in, and even from direct from my distributor, I asked for a meeting, wanted the meeting, set up the meeting. We go, and we're like days before, I'm making sure I have everything. I got to the parking lot like 3 hours beforehand, because this could like make or break the brand in terms of where you're going, because of just like where we could go from there.
Did you hear what she said? She was in the parking lot 3 hours before the appointment.
Yes. So I call, my distributor comes with me, and I call him, and we're set up, and I'm making sure I have all the pieces. And he was like, and it wasn't rude at all. He was just I'm going to be blunt with you. He will not try it, which is, side note, the wildest thing. Here, retailers here, I have something for you to try. They're like, yeah, come on back. Retailers in Texas, they were like, no, I don't try it. I'm like, and mind boggled. Like, but that's the Liquor to Lips is the only thing we have. So like, I had a lot of accounts of like, did not bring it in, and they would not try it. I'm like, I had to re-strategize myself. I'm like, this is wild, because if they can't try it, they don't know who we are, you know?
At that point, you're just selling yourself.
Yeah. So back on, he says he is not going to try it. You're probably going to have 30 seconds, and he's not going to bring the vodka in. He may or may not bring the small batch in, but he'll probably want a ton of single barrels. And I was like, I'm going to be very honest. They're not getting single barrels unless we can have a deal. And I was like, but that's fine. You don't have to say anything. I got it. So I was like, I didn't even tell him that. I was just like, I got it. Like, no problem. I'm thinking to myself, so I'm strategizing. The whole time I'm thinking. We go, you have to get a fingerprint code. You put your face in, they scan it up. You have a time you're going. And this is a family thing as well. The family's up here, so I'm asking that guy questions. Like, is the family still in this thing? Is it still the family? Yes, you're going to be meeting with the son. He's third generation, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I can work with this. Okay, so we go up, and there's like these polished suit guys, you know, from Italy. They just flew into Italy. These guys are leaning, they're talking to the dad. And so I just won't use names and stuff. They're talking to the dad, who's the main owner right now. I'm meeting with his son, and they're just talking, and they're, you know, whatever. They sit down.
Make sure you don't insult anybody as you go.
No, this isn't. I'm not trying.
I hate for you to insult anybody.
No, I wasn't trying to insult anybody. No, for real. Like, I don't know. Like, this isn't insulting. It's just the funny story that gets you there. And so
those Italy guys,
right?
They said they came from Italy. Literally, I'll tell you why.
Italians with their fancy suits.
No, they weren't Italian. They just flew from Italy. And so he sits down, and they got these big wine bags. And after talking to the owner, you know, they sit down, and he looks at me, and he like does this thing. He goes, "So what have you got?" And I was like, I explained who we are. He goes, "When's your meeting?" And I was like, 10 a.m. He goes, "Our meeting's at 10." He goes, "That's unfortunate." He goes, "I guess I'll let you go first. Doesn't seem like it'll take too long. I got all these bags. We're going to be in there at least 3 hours." I turned to him. I go, "I don't care if you're here for 8 hours. I'll wait."
I've already been here for 3 hours.
I'll wait. And so, like, we're going, and we go in this, and I just basically go in thinking, hitting on the family aspect. Yeah. Fast forward, he tried them.
Really?
My distributor was speechless. He's just staring. He's coming down. He was like, he tried them. I was like, I have a thing.
Oh, gosh.
This must be my, I just convinced him. And he tried them. He brought in, we were delivered to 60 stores with a PA system, which means they're incentivizing their own employees to show people and tell them about our product, which is huge. So we put that system on, and we got some barrels going over there for each city. So that's, awesome. I'm hoping that will be something that'll trickle around.
Yes.
So that could be really big if it does what it's supposed to do.
Well, I will say, at the one in Beaumont, you are right next to the Texas whiskey, so that's a lot to live up to. Not that I'm biased to Texas whiskey or anything, but it's a lot to live up to. So just be prepared.
Well, I have to give a big shout out to Longhorn because I offered them the first barrel because I wanted to make sure to give back because I know that they've always been, and our fans come from fans of Longhorn. Right. So like that circle back. So I made sure to text and offer that first one coming in because I wanted to do like a give back to make sure we're doing that. But also they were like our first order, really? Like first order and first pull through. Really cool. So that's really awesome to see. Like within the first week of saying we're in Texas, I had people say, I just got it at Longhorn. So I thought that was really great. And I have to say like a big shout out and thank you for that because we can't do it without every level, like just believing in our brand and making it an opportunity. And so, yeah.
I saw you walk up with a box of goodies. Is that for right now or is that for business later?
I saw you walk up with a box of goodies.
I mean, you walk up with goodies. I'm gonna ask.
So. You asked about, future things. We're kind of going backwards right here, but
that is a pretty label.
There you go.
That's not the label, but it's like it.
Yeah. But it's pretty close.
That's a pretty label.
So basically,
so if you put them side by side, we kind of
basically blue.
Blue is
people kept calling this the blue label. So basically, we went with this. The public spoke, and so blue means high proof. So if it's light blue, it's a small batch. Dark blue is a single barrel. That's the concept of it.
I think it looks really good.
Our 6 year, so this is a light gold. So the 6 year is a dark gold. So it's the same concept. So a 4 year or a 6 year. So you can go on colors to identify. So that's kind of the.
Yeah, that's why I threw a little bit of light blue in my wardrobe for this weekend because I knew this was coming.
Yes.
So what I have here, you asked about how we sample and how we figure things out. That's what it looks like when we get started. I got a bunch of different samples.
Yay!
And you'll see pictures of that on these little bottles on my desk, and there'll be probably start off with 15 to 20 barrels that I'm sort of sorting through those, and figure them out and kick some out and save some for barrel picks and figure out where's the kind of the middle that I want to work with, and I end up here, which is I've got a barrel proof sample right here, and then I've got it proofed down to 118, which is I think and so you guys get to be the first ones ever to try our high proof.
Very nice.
And Mia's got some fresh glasses.
Oh, fresh glasses.
See that? So
if it ain't good,
don't say that.
You'll know.
Yeah. So this is not a finished batch, but it is, getting close. So you can, are they clean, Mia?
Yeah, look. It can be. Right? That's how we do it down south, is you just take your shirt and you go, whoop, clean.
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Take another one.
So that's it.
And I like the Glens y'all went with. They're a little different. Like the bottom seems stubbier.
We tried something different.
I guess. Does that make sense? I think the bottom is stubbier than mine.
It is actually.
So it's not a real blend. We used to have real blends, and then it just supply chain. It gets real hard to get stuff.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, I like it though.
I kind of do too, because it get like. But with ours, prime example with ours that we keep in studio, it's like it's more like pedestal based, where this one's more like
if you look at it, it almost mimics your bottles and we talked about it last week. We talked about your bottle design, how it's got the shorter neck with the wider shoulder, and then it kind of it's curvaceous.
Yeah.
So
it's got the hip.
Yeah. Your quote unquote Glen.
I like it. It's got the hip.
Kind of mimics that. It's got the a little bit of a neck, and then it's got kind of some curvaceousness to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
So this is 118.
This is 118. It's a 15 barrel batch, and it's getting close. This may or may not be the final first release.
Ooh, I get really heavy butterscotch.
I was thinking more molasses. Not a burnt molasses, but like a warm molasses, I guess.
It's really good. I'm just saying.
You're not biased a little bit, are you?
Yeah, that's really good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's just telling you it's not ready, so you'll say, like, yeah, it definitely
I'll be honest, I like this.
I mean, I don't.
Better than your navy blue label there. I mean, literally, like this to me is.
What you're getting there, that's an interesting point, because there are different things in different barrels, and if you only get one barrel, you don't get all those different things.
Right.
And there's two different coopers that we primarily use to blend with, and you get one or the other,
Yeah.
a single barrel. But if you put those two together, the way I refer to them is I've got one that's like really hardy, earthy, leathery cooper. That's kind of my go-to. That's the one I prefer. Then I've got this other cooper that produces a lighter, more fruity, floral tones, if that makes sense. And some people prefer that. Like we have barrel picks, and it's like polar opposite, and they go one way or the other, and they're committed to that particular barrel.
I feel like this one may be that leathery or.
Well, it's a combination.
Okay, it's a combo.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
That's what I'm saying. You're getting both in a batch, if that makes sense.
You know what this reminds me of? So like the little chocolate bars that you can get that with like the habanero spice. This is like a chocolate habanero.
It almost reminds me of
It's
that.
got a good spiciness on it, but it's got a really kind of dark chocolate. So it's like a spicy chocolate bar.
It reminds me of a high proof Mojeska.
Yeah. When you first, going back to my original, was sitting there at the guys that helped me build all this, the first distillery, and we're tasting this. The spice is there. It's in the distillate.
Absolutely.
It's not coming from the barrel. I mean, some more comes from the barrel possibly, but the spice is there. And he's like, wait a minute, like, where the hell is the spice coming from? It's like we're not expecting this. I don't know what we were expecting, but not that. And it's, rice, the grain makes a great whiskey. Who knew?
Yeah, I mean, literally, who knew?
Because I mean, we grew up eating rice. Like that's what we ate, whether it was in gumbo or rice and gravy or it didn't matter. Every meal had some sort of rice base. So to know that it's doing this is just nuts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The first people that made whiskey, they made whiskey as a final step in saving their crop. And then they put it in a barrel because that was the vessel that was available.
Yeah.
There was nothing else. They didn't have stainless steel. They put it in a barrel, they sent it to New Orleans, and sat in a warehouse. And somewhere along the way, people said, oh, it's better when it's older. That 6-month distillate in a wooden barrel was not very good, probably. And they said that's what the cowboys drank.
Yeah, it did the job.
Yeah, it did the job, yeah. But with this, if you're sitting there and you're a cook in South Louisiana, and that's all I was at the time, I was not a distiller, I'm saying, well, I put gravy on my rice, not on my corn.
Yeah,
I bet this is going to work. And that's what the barrel is. The barrel is the gravy. And it changes. By the way, for all those people out there who don't know, distillate is clear.
Right.
It gets all its color, 100% of the color from the barrel, and it gets all those vanilla notes from the barrel. The spice is in the distillate itself. Some of it comes from the barrel. It's an interesting process. It's not. It's like painting. It's not controllable. They're the guys that have multi-millions of dollars who have research team, and they're trying to make every barrel be exact. It's not the same. They're always chasing it. Trying to hit that zone.
Yeah. So are you pulling like age barrels whenever you are doing this, or will you have some that are 2 years old, some that are 4 years old? Or are y'all trying to kind of stick to that same age?
Yeah, whenever
range?
they're ready.
Yeah, when they're ready, and I'm trying to get a 4-year profile, then they might be 5 years, but they're not. I'm definitely not going to use
all these. Yeah. This behind us is our this year's stuff.
Yeah.
So I noticed, obviously you palletize what you've talked about before, and I said it before we even started the show, there's no scientific reasoning for palletized versus traditional rick. But I noticed you've got some that are standing up tall and some that are laid down. Is there a reason for that? Or you just
problem child.
They leak.
Leakers, problem children are on this side.
It's just that when we first started, one of our coopers, those barrels, they make some of the best whiskey, but they're just didn't hold together very well. So we don't have that problem as much anymore. They've kind of solved all that. But originally, that's where some of those barrels come from. Those are our first barrels, and we couldn't make them stop leaking. So, Brett,
so they're just sitting on their side.
He puts the hole facing up, and there you go.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
So is there a story with the little bear? Because I looked at them and I took a picture of them just because I was curious because everything else is not.
Yeah. So those
are those just
that's whiskey batch number 1.
Oh, is it?
That's
was they empty?
Yeah.
Oh,
when we
was
first when we first started, we wanted to rapidly age them, so we put them in a small barrel.
Right.
So that was never intended for release. It was just to see what it would turn into. And honestly, we tried them 6 months later. Didn't really learn much from it, except that Brett and I dropped a piece of metal in it and ruined one of the barrels.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Like a diesel. It had diesel.
If there is one drop of any kind of cleaning fluid or whatever, like we had a little piece of metal and dropped it in there accidentally. We're trying to get the bung out in the story, but we ruined that barrel.
So, I guess kind of in that same breath, for each of y'all, what's been like the biggest or like worst moment of all this, and then the complete opposite? What's been your favorite in the 6-7 years that y'all been doing this, like both ends of the spectrum? So you got to have like one of those. Oh shit.
We got a lot of those.
Oh, we got a lot of those. We didn't talk about equipment, but, learning to run our equipment, it gets kind of technical, but I come in here one morning, and Brett is our distiller. He and I are both self-taught. People taught us. We didn't, figure it all out by ourselves, but we had to figure out how to run that equipment. You had to, the equipment has it's eccentric, and you got to do it a certain way. And I come in here one morning, and there's just mash all over the floor.
Oh,
the place is flooded with looks like a cream sauce that somebody didn't quite make it,
Crawfish.
Crawfish and so what, and whatever. It's a long story, and that led to probably 3 months of trial and error, sorting out, that was a bad day. That was a bad 3 months because you don't know if you can solve it.
Yeah.
You don't know if there's an end. I call it getting off the mountain. Me and that guy Ed, by the way, one time we were on the mountain where we hunt, and we literally were on the mountain, and he bogged the tractor, and then we decided we're going to go pull the tractor out with his truck, our transportation off of the mountain. Bogged that on the mountain, and then there were some loggers up there, and they had these big giant machines called skidders that they haul lumber all the. He said, "We should go borrow one of those skidders." I said, "I'm not going to jail over this." And long story short, we had to figure out how to get off the mountain, and it's something I talk about all the time. We had to use what we had to get that truck and that tractor, unstuck, and it was not. But we did it. We got off the mountain, and that's the way it was fixing that still. You just got to figure it out and work with it, trial and error, and. I already mentioned the other worst day is when I tried that whiskey when it was about 2 years old. A 2-year-old, our whiskey anyway, in a barrel, 2 years old, has sort of maximum tannins that it can possibly have. When you take a sip of it, your mouth
puckers
up, just puckers up. Is so, cloying, they call that. Just all the tannins. You still have tannins in it today.
But it's still crazy to think about because there's some Texas whiskey companies that are releasing 2-year whiskey and it's really good. Mm-hmm. So it's weird that you are literally right next door.
Oh yeah, completely different weather patterns. Well,
I think,
and of course grain obviously probably plays a little bit of role in that. Yeah. But it's just weird to think like, okay, Texas can put it out at 2 years, but you're saying it's so tannic that you wouldn't even attempt. Mm-hmm. So it's weird to think how close we are.
Yeah, I can't comment on that. They have their thing, and I suspect that it has something to do with the chemistry of the rice and the other grain. One accepts, the other one repels, so it takes longer to age. Hours. It just sort of, it sucks up everything.
Everything.
There's a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, because you said it yourself. The proximity, but the biggest thing that I think that kind of goes into it is the fact that you're also looking at different elevations too. I mean, let's be honest. Southern half of Louisiana is either at or below sea level, where parts of Texas, you get out to the hill country, there's parts that are way up and then parts that are way down. So I think elevation plays into it a little bit too.
Humidity.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
humidity,
dry.
elevation.
And they, some of the earlier distilleries that are there, they're famous now. They went for that really hard punching, bold whiskey.
You got to take a risk.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you got to take a risk.
They went in a totally opposite direction of what existed, and they put
like you
this
said,
stake
you got to
in
be
the ground.
different.
Yeah, it had to be different.
Y'all are definitely doing different, and it's definitely.
All right. So what was your shit?
So many things uncontrollable. I mean, hell, a barrel that's right here is going to be different than the one that's in the back corner. It's going to get hotter over there. So it's just like you have to be okay with being uncomfortable and knowing that you can't control everything. That's probably the hardest thing for us who are like to control every aspect of things that are happening.
There's magic in those barrels, though.
I feel like
never know.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what the biggest.
And
because
if it's one that he doesn't know about yet,
I know.
We can totally talk about that. This is like group therapy. We call it group therapy sometimes. So
I feel like I
talk about it.
Wait a minute. Normally with group therapy, there's a cigar involved, sir. I didn't bring one on purpose because I knew this was about the whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't let. I do love cigars, but we can't.
I wish I'd have known
Yeah,
that.
can't smoke them in here.
Yeah, no.
God, no.
Oh,
I'm staring at giant fire stickers.
Yes.
Yeah. I really try to block out negative things because if there's one thing to know and be okay with is that shit's gonna go wrong.
Yeah.
Like shit just will go wrong every single day. So it's kind of like become the norm. I will say that probably a thing that sticks the most, and it's probably not even the worst thing, but rice is a very oily grain. So it has lots of oils in the barrel. We had a batch that had so much oil floating, it looked like boogers. Like it looked like boogers coming. So you looked at it, and it's fine. You shake it up. No, that's what I'm saying. From a marketing perspective, that was probably the one day that my heart sank. And like he's saying, just shake it up. It's fine. You can consume it. It goes away when you shake it. And I'm over there going, all it takes is one person to find boogers in their whiskey on the shelf, and we're ruined. Like, I went to 15 stores that day. I looked at every single whiskey. I swapped whiskey. I went to our R&DC. I went through every single bottle of inventory. I took the ones home. I replaced it with a different one. And we have solved the problem since then. But that wasn't even the biggest thing to happen. But talk about a lot of things that happen here. Yeah, it sucks. It ruins you, but people don't know. Like you can control it behind closed doors. Things happening. Our mash tun is broke before. Our still stops working, but nobody sees it. The visual aspect.
Still, you don't know how to put it together.
Yeah, pretty much still on the ground. That was probably a day where my heart left my soul. I'm just like, my soul left my body, I guess.
And it's normally I'm the one doing that, and she's the one calming me down. But that day was completely opposite. I knew we were leaving that in the oils, if you will. I don't know the technical term for it. I know people who do. But anyway, you can make a decision. I knew that people filter whiskey. I knew that was a thing. And we did our first batch. I talked to people. Hey, put it in the refrigerator. If it doesn't go cloudy, you're good. And we did, and we checked all that, because the temperature will make the oils sort of appear, and then you'll get cloudy whiskey. And there's a certain amount. If you go find an older bottle that's just been sitting on the shelf, there may be a little cloud of the oil that it sort of tends to gather up, and as soon as you move it, it disperses back into the whiskey, and it's part of the flavor. So
and it gives it that fatty lipid
and it's certainly part of the mouthfeel. So I didn't want to remove it, and so she calls me, and I come back to the shop, and when I'm telling you, she's got a pallet over there, she got a pallet over there. The most organized person I know has got the most disorganized warehouse.
No, it was organized. He just came in when I told him not to come in.
Boxes open everywhere.
Yes, we were going through every single last bottle because I was not being.
What are y'all doing? I'm like, this has always existed. There's no problem.
No, I'm gonna find.
And she shows me a bottle of it. I'm like,
yeah,
it does.
I told him to stay
Where
out
are
of the
these
warehouse.
bottles? And it just turns out it was that particular batch.
I'm trying to find a picture for you.
That particular group of barrels that had more of that substance.
It had more oils than.
Yeah. So now we solved that. So we lightly filter everything just to pick that up, and it hasn't really changed the profile.
Right.
But on that day, it's kind of like.
But on that one day,
when
we saw it,
somebody posting it on.
Yeah, that's my marketing side of me.
And as a marketing person, that's the last thing you would want is somebody going, "Look at this crap."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look what they're doing.
Especially whenever shows like moonshiners and stuff like that are so popular, and that's like the one thing they talk about is, well, how clear is it? You know what I mean? So I can see how that would be like a.
By the way, that's also a proof thing. The more water you add to it, the lower the proof, the more of that is
water and oil.
Yeah.
So it's I'm gonna have to be shutting my thing down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, I knew you had a heart out, but you were more than welcome to stay as long as you wanted. And by the way, I'm gonna need a bottle of this.
Yes, sir. We'll probably be bottling it towards the end of next week. So.
Nice. Yeah. Fantastic.
Seemed like I had something else to say, but always do.
Well, Mike, we appreciate you coming on.
Yes,
I know you're a busy man, and I can't thank you enough for taking time to do this. It really meant a lot to us.
Well, thank y'all for coming. I enjoyed it. This is
absolutely.
You asked what's the best thing about all this? These things. This is where you get to share your story. It sounds so romantic when we tell it. You leave out all the hard work and there's one other event. I'll tell you. So when you make whiskey, you make a beer, and you have grain, you have spent grain, and you have stillage. And stillage goes into containers, and the cows eat the stillage. And then we collect that in tanks and ship it off. Well, you get into a lot of routine stuff, and then you don't quite check everything. And I guess we went a whole shift or one night or whatever, and the stillage was just getting pumped onto the ground back there. And I don't know if you've ever been into a hog pen before. But,
a couple times.
But I'm telling you.
Not by choice, but a couple times.
This stuff is all out on the ground, and the guy didn't tell us because he didn't notice, and he hoped nobody else noticed.
Right.
Well, this was in the middle of the summer. After about 3 days, that stuff started. The sun started hitting it.
Oh, yeah.
The wind started blowing.
Oh, yeah.
The office. I'm like, what the? That was another bad day. You had to. The sun's going to take care of it. But we had to remediate it. Clean it up. You got to plow it up. Add lime to it to get, to get the pH right. And get the microbes to go to work. But it's right.
Right,
there.
I was gonna say you're still sitting in it until everything.
Until Mother Nature takes its course. Yeah. So anyway, thank y'all for having me.
No, thank you for having us. Like I said, we're in your building.
Yeah. You give them a tour and whatever else that y'all need to take care of.
I'm still hung on the thing that you're saying. There are people shitting on me on live platforms, and I've never seen any negative comments about me, Michael Fruge. You need to send those to me.
I don't think anybody's.
By the way, I want to say one more thing about Mia and my
afraid.
wife. It's like you dangle a little bait right there. They're easy to hook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catfish. I like it.
And let's just get that out of the way.
I was
Catfish
like, Courtney,
reference.
you've
I
been
like
married to me for almost 40 years. You still bite.
I've been doing this for too long.
Y'all
You should know
heard
better
him.
by now.
He was like, yeah, I see all these negative
That's one of
things
the-
talking about me. I'm like, what?
The funniest thing, because you called him by his full name there, I've listened to these other podcasts or shows or whatever. People talk about y'all's whiskey and vodka and the name, and it's hilarious listening to people try to pronounce it. It looks like Fruge, Spirits, Fruge,
Yeah.
Come on.
That's why
you can do it.
Fruge.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I
Get
mean,
there.
Meleck is not easier, but it's easier than Fruge.
Fruge.
So,
But I guess it's because we're from there. I mean, we're, grew up around it. It's Abears, it's Fruges, it's
anywhere else outside of Louisiana, Fruge is just going to be
Fruge. Yeah.
You know,
I was like, oh, come on.
What happened
I
to
think
these
it's a whole
pictures?
Cajun adjacent kind of thing.
So,
But we do appreciate you coming on.
All right,
You got to
well,
get out of
For
here.
sure we do.
Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers, brother.
Very
I
much.
appreciate it.
Very much.
Cheers, cheers,
cheers, Mia,
cheers, 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 cheers.
my boss.
He's like my boss.
Are y'all supposed to be drinking on the job together?
I feel
I'll
that's kind
allow
of
it.
a prerequisite in this
Is
kind of
it?
industry.
By the way, if y'all sample these other bottles, I need to keep this one.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. Y'all can try these.
Oh,
or whatever.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Yep. For sure.
Let me get unhooked here before.
You're going to yank us all away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have to talk to
You
him.
have to talk now.
I'm trying to find the picture, but I can't find it.
This is your
The
opportunity.
oil.
This is the quietest I've ever heard you. By the way.
I know. I was trying to find the picture. What? Yeah, I can. Those aren't as. Although they probably settled a little bit. Yeah.
No, it's all good.
Bye.
All right. You too, brother.
Always.
Always, always, always.
So do you want to? Oh, do you even know what's over there?
She's like looking. She's like,
Yeah, I'm just making sure he didn't actually give us something that we cannot sample out.
well, the only thing he said he needed was that one.
Yeah.
In the back.
What is that one?
I don't know, but it's the one he said he needed.
So we sampled the replica of this one. If we drink this, he doesn't have anything.
Oh,
Right.
okay. I got you.
Right.
Yeah. These are samples that went into this. This is like a progression of them, but at the higher proof.
So, if possible, do you
So I was fixing to say,
think-
do you wanna switch to the? You wanna like shut this down and go to the
Well, no, we don't even have
virtual,
to
or-
shut this down. If you're okay with it, would you mind walking us around
Yeah, sure.
real quick? Let me get this fired up. Again,
Fired up.
this is the quietest I've ever heard you on a video.
I know. I'm
so-
a little.
I'm really thinking
not real
about the
sure
fact
how to-
that I don't know if he's joking or serious. I've never seen anybody say mean things about me.
Well, I mean, there's always that.
Is there people saying mean things about
I don't
you?
know. That's what he said, but sometimes he just likes to say stuff to round me
Well,
up.
I mean,
Will you get my head out of the bag?
no. You
My-
get
my-
people.
Earbuds.
I'll let y'all do that. I'm not gonna lie. The walking thing kind of kills my back at the moment. I'm like,
So what's next for JT Meleck? You've
This-
conquered Louisiana.
I don't know if we've conquered it. We definitely there's still room for growth.
Okay, so what's Arkansas like? Because we
Non-existent.
We don't hear a whole lot about it, but y'all are distributed there.
We are. Yeah, it's kind of a fail, I guess, if I'm being real honest. Like, it just didn't work. Like, it really showed. Those are some lessons learned. You know, we had, I think it was a misunderstanding when the distributor called us. They had seen a video. Y'all help yourselves to that. That's all for y'all. They had sent a video of Stale Cracker in here. Stale Cracker is our influencer for crawfish. So anytime you see, if y'all watch him,
oh yeah,
his
Abby,
videos on
all
the
the time.
farm.
hilarious.
Yeah.
I would love to actually work with him at some point.
So that's
Especially
our.
on his infinity barrel or whatever he's got going on right now.
Yeah, that's he's our. So any videos you see of the farm, that's our farm, that's our crawfish.
Oh, wow.
And so
Oh,
when
really?
they,
Okay.
yep,
I did not
Yep,
realize
that's all
that.
of our crawfish. So that's for CajunCrawfish.com.
Yes.
That's our e-commerce website.
Nice.
Oh, that's y'all.
Yep, that's us.
I'd heard.
He
I'd
says it
heard
all the
that,
time.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it was y'all.
Yep.
I'd heard
Yep.
it was. I
That's
wasn't
crazy.
100% sure on it.
We all
'cause-
kind of run something. That's my mom's company. So that's what
Nice.
she runs. I run Fruge Spirits. We all kind of run something different because I told you when he gets too quiet and he comes up
So
with
what
a
does
new.
Mike run?
Oh, he dabbles in
Everything.
everything. His main focus is seafood right now.
Mike said he's a cigar guy. Is there like a Fruge tobacco thing in the?
Don't even.
I'm putting it out there. No, I'm a cigar guy.
No,
Barrel-aged tobacco leaves.
No.
Yes.
Cigar
Yes.
company.
Yes.
Here it comes.
Yes.
Watch.
Yes.
Hell no.
Watch.
I
Yes.
cannot do another company, another responsibility.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I know a guy that's pretty knowledgeable in cigars sitting in this general vicinity. So I mean,
Are we switching to your phone?
If you don't mind, if you'd
I don't
like
mind.
to walk
I'm
around
actually
with me.
excited to take. It's starting to hurt my ears.
yeah, no,
Here,
that's what I figured.
I don't know how weird you are, but in order for people to hear you and
Perfect.
for you to hear Roy,
Yes.
you would need to put that in your ear. It has been in my ear before.
How do I? Is it this? Hopefully I don't get your
If you do, I'm going to be so mad at you.
in my ear.
Well, look at it this way. It's not like you're wearing her hat or nothing. I mean, you can't get that kind of thing.
All right, so I got to show this on stream.
Yeah, show it on stream. Show it on stream. Knock out the tour. Oh.
Why is it not showing?
Is that it? Oh, that's it.
Show on stream.
There you go.
All right.
Okay. You got your gimbal. Don't forget your. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and mute your mic too while I'm at it. I'm muting everybody's mics. That's why I got control of the board. Yep. Clamp it. Clamp it.
They leave, or are they going to come with us?
Are they coming back?
They're coming back, or
No,
they usually
they've
hop
got
in.
a casino thing because the youngest guy, it was his birthday. So
Cool.
no, now it's just the four of us, five of us. Yeah, math is hard. Oh, you're gonna hold it? I like it. Okay. You're gonna have to. Yeah, you're gonna have to venture that way to get the echo away.
That's wild.
Mia's all amazed at the.
So just kind of talk about
How about we
this.
go here first?
Oh, okay, sure. We can go in order.
Very messy.
I think so too.
Did I undo it?
Can you still hear?
Yeah, I can still hear y'all.
Okay, perfect. So, a little dirty in here, but this is, so, our rice, so you can show them the form later on. But these are our rice in 2,000-gallon bags. So, it goes to the mill to be husked. Hard word. So, it doesn't get pounded. It's just, it looks very similar to rice that you can get in the grocery store. So, it's, technically, I mean, you can eat it. This is a big-ass rice cooker. So, 2,000 pounds is the batch, and that's for both vodka and whiskey. So they basically just dump it over. It's the same thing that you've ever seen a bin. That's how rice is put into rice bins. It's shot and it's shoot forward. We basically built a small replication to get it into the mash bin. It does this, and this is basically cooking rice. So it takes like a day, a couple hours, depending on what you're doing, whether it's vodka or whiskey. Vodka actually takes much longer to make, as we mentioned earlier. These are our fermentation of beer well over here. I will then to our hill. Right yonder, our whiskey will take about, I think I put it.
You did. You keep pushing it. It's okay.
Good? It
Yeah.
keeps falling out of my ear. Can you hear me?
Roy,
Yeah, I got you. You're
Roy,
coming
can you
in.
hear us?
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
Oh, hang on.
You get out of my ear and then I touch it.
I don't know. Roy, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you completely.
I can't hear him.
I can't hear you.
All right, just
Can the phone still hear me? So fermenting takes vodka about 2 weeks in here. This is where the yeast is eating the sugars to create alcohol. So lots of different alcohol here. The whiskey takes about a week. So once it goes, we transfer over. So like and then it goes into the screw well. Side note, this has a boat propeller in it. We make everything ourselves. You can see the welding. We built these tanks ourselves.
The only things that we brought in are our mash gun and our still. We obviously did not build those, but these were built by us with a local steel company. That's where we bought the steel from. So it comes into the beer well. There's a big motor, and it basically keeps it moving. So it's going to start from. Sorry, I gotta stop touching it. It starts from super bubbly and cooking and eating, and it gets all bubbly to like almost looks like light chocolate milk, and that's how it'll look kind of in the motor. It'll come through, and this is a motor. So the same things we use for boats and tractors, everything's done by us. It's going to pull here, and then basically this is the whiskey right here, and this is the vodka. So this is one big column that we cut in half because we do not want to build it that high for Mother Nature. We do not want to deal with that. So this was the highest that we were willing to go. We pretty much use the same one as the whiskey columns here. So it takes longer. It takes about 45 minutes for vodka to go through this process, to go through the column and come out at 191. That's what we're aiming for there. It's harder to make vodka. We fail a lot more. Sometimes we can't make it, and the distillate gets basically dumped. Our spent grain that comes out the back goes to the local cattle farmer. His name's Larry, from within out, I'm pretty sure. And then he feeds that to his cows. And so that's the stuff that's safe, not the alcohol forward tails that come out. That happened to us one time. So whiskey goes through here, and then when it's coming out, you can see it bounce along. It'll tell you we shoot for 122.5 out still, but it goes from 119 to 125. That's where we aim in the middle. We don't really stop. If it's going too high or low, we let it roll because we're just going through that center that we were talking about there. So usually there's a big old tank here, which actually right here. So this is whiskey right here. So clear, and it measures everything we do here has to be documented. So I put it into a system. So everything that Brett and Brad does, they document every single proof gallon that we transfer to ounces and milliliters and everything's documented so that we can be legally safe. To get all the way here, I'm pretty sure this is, yeah, this is whiskey. So to get here, this is probably about 4 or 5 runs to actually fill this thing up. Every run will get about 2.5 barrels from it. So you're looking at 7 barrels from here, roughly, I'm guessing. And then we move this over, so we have to get the weight for start and finish, and then we put 4 barrels on this thing and we fill it up. And the start and the end will give you your weight. So therefore, when you dump later on, you know your loss, your yield, and what you're getting from there. This is the filter system here. So it drips. This is a very touchy spot. This is where the vodka comes down. You don't want to go too slow, and you don't want to go too fast. Going too fast won't actually filter it properly, and you'll get it you won't get the richness that the vodka is providing. And if you do it too much, then you're getting a lot of the carbon flavors and it ruins your vodka. So we learned that the hard way. So it's Brett knows exactly what it's supposed to look like coming out. There's nothing in there right now, but how it's supposed to look to where it's not too slow and not too fast. No pressure whatsoever. This tank, it will be hooked up to this one or whatever's next. We have a couple, and this is how we get it into the barrel. So this thing will just pump and then clip it. We fill it all the way to the top. Sometimes it overflows a little bit. Don't mind this baby right here.
Yeah, this is the IKEA still.
Yeah, this is the IKEA. We need somebody to come build it. These are things, okay, this is what our whiskey goes into. So currently our batches is in these 2 right here. They're sitting in for approval. We have a couple more pieces. Don't mind all. And then this is one of our warehouses that we really use for inventory purposes. So we just place everything here. This was, I guess you can say, the second barrel warehouse because I'll show you what we thought our first one was going to be. This little milk over to the side where our bottling is. And this was the first one. We thought all of our inventory would go, and we quickly realized it was in bigger space. We have 2 big warehouses across the street. Hurricane protected or Lola. We don't have warehouses because we want to protect barrels. And this is basically the inventory for this year. So for 12 months, Brett keeps it right here. That way when I have the samples, when I need a fit, when I need to dump something, he doesn't have to go all the way across the street. Find what it is. It's right here. It's very easy. Whatever. And that's why we can flip barrels so quickly. The minute they switch, I get the notification. They dump it. They give me the proof. We go get the CTV. These are brand new. Not filled, and these were just filled. You can also tell by the color.
I was gonna say the color difference on this versus this is insane.
Very different. We do go in numerical order. So when you see right here, the 2,144, that's the 2,144th barrel that was filled. So whenever you see a barrel pitch, that's numerically what barrel order that was that we filled. you can see all this, and then I want to say this is the rice bourbon right here.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah. These are some empties right here from our barrel pick. If y'all want to sign anything, anybody that comes over for barrel picks and stuff, signs the same.
Ooh.
If y'all want to sign, at one point I'll probably do like a charity event or something like that.
That'd be kind of cool.
Definitely, I'm not doing anything. So just take it out.
Yeah, we can take it out.
Bottling room? Or no?
Where's that at?
Roy's eating.
The room right here. We don't have to.
We
It's
can
not
do that.
glamorous.
Yeah.
It's not glamorous.
Well, I'll make sure we get pictures.
Well, I mean, if anything, do you want to get to where we're kind of like wrapped up with this part of it?
I don't even know where my microphone went.
It's on the floor, I think.
But you'll
Yeah,
give
it's
us.
on the floor.
Let's get wrapped up with this. I'll take some photo. Do you have me muted?
Nah, just unmute it.
Oh. Let's get wrapped up with this. I'll take some photos. I'll probably take a little bit of videos. Let Mia kind of do her little thing, and I'll get them posted. I'll get y'all tagged in them. But I mean, obviously, first and foremost, I gotta thank you enough for as amazing as you've been throughout this entire process.
Absolutely.
I know I've been probably a huge pain in your ass,
No,
asking for things and
I love
asking
when people are
questions
fans.
and that's the biggest thing about this whole thing is I came into this so excited because that first and foremost
I'm
just
officially a fan of
huge-
chicken crackling, which I didn't know was a thing.
I'm just a huge fan
They're so, like, you can't just have one.
of what y'all are doing.
Thank you.
And that's what makes this so easy and so much fun is because, yeah, we're a podcast, we're a show, we get to do this, blah, 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 and we talk about whiskey all the time. But I don't get to do this, where I can come in as a fan, as somebody that enjoys your content, as somebody that got to meet you and was, like, blown away by everything you are doing. And, I mean, even getting here to sit and talk to Mike, I mean, has been absolutely amazing. I know you've joked about
I like
things.
that.
You've talked about him in certain way. You've said, well, he is who he is. But I mean, it was such a good time. Like
I'm glad you liked
and I feel like I hope he had a good time on the show, and I hope you did as well.
He stayed past his allocated
Exactly. We've got allocated time. We've got allocated whiskey.
He was like, I have to leave by 2. You're like, it's 2. He's like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. All right, so we want to kind of wrap this thing up.
Sure.
Do you have any last words you'd like to share, or are we just going to...
I do. I always have a last
All
call
right.
at some point.
So at the end of our show, we do a last call. And so it'll get kind of loud here in just a second. And Roy
That's
will
his
give...
end of it.
Roy will give his final thoughts.
Consider it like a Fat Mr. Rogers kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'm ready to see this.
Last call for alcohol!
If there's anything we've learned from today's episode, don't be afraid to take risk and don't be afraid to try something outside the box. And that's a direct kudos to you guys with Fruge Spirits, JT Meleck. If y'all wouldn't have done this, this wouldn't have existed. And I love the fact that it exists.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So
But, can't thank you enough. Where can everybody find you on social media?
All
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Find her everywhere.
And just search JT Meleck, or do they need to search Fruge Spirits? Or
JT Meleck. I mean, I don't think Fruge Spirits is like the head, but it's at JT Meleck for all of them.
So at JT Meleck, you can find him everywhere. As well as, again, download the app. It's super cool. Search JT Meleck in the Apple App Store or Google Play. Find it. Buy a bottle.
check
I
out the store list.
promise you're going to like it. If you don't, you can give me the bottle because I do like it. But
If somebody
be on the lookout for the light blue label.
if somebody can tell me which account I had a hand in getting into, we may send them something. We may do a giveaway.
But
Maybe.
you've been awesome.
I
You've
try.
Been awesome.
You're awesome.
Thank you, everybody that's here with us. Our wives are amazing for even letting us come all the way out here. So cannot thank you enough. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in.
Mine gave me the stink eye. She's like,
We're getting the heck up out of here. And I'm going to go walk around and probably steal some whiskey or something, but don't mind me. You look that way.
My tongue get what I deserve. Trendsetter, I got style for you. Ain't seen you at the top, it's been a while for you. Big you up and they look down on you. Take one loss, no one's around for you.